Mesdames et messieurs, les maires du monde entier,
Dear mayors of the world,
nous sommes des enfants de 10 ans. Les enfants de Paris blessé, de Paris qui nous est si cher,
et surtout les enfants de notre terre, qui nous est à tous si précieuse.
If we do nothing about climate change, storms will be much worse.
L'air sera pollué, les plages disparaîtront.
Si nous ne faisons rien contre le dérèglement climatique, nos enfants vivront dans un monde différent.
Pensez à nous.
Nous voulons vous dire que vous portez l'espoir de notre jeune génération. De vivre dans des villes sans toute cette pollution qui rend malade les humains, les animaux et la nature tout entière. Sans tout ce béton scellé autour de nous, sans ces voitures, ces déchets, sans tout ce gaspillage. You have the power to create beautiful cities that offer opportunity. You have the power to help us preserve the world that we will grow up in by creating gardens in every school and on every street corner. You have the power to develop greener transportation and cleaner energy. But most important to us.
Mais surtout, le plus important pour nous,
C'est que vous demandiez que soient développés
dès maintenant des projets d'éducation au développement durable. De l'école au lycée, partout où l'on s'occupe des jeunes.
car nous serons alors des citoyens responsables et respectueux de la planète.
Pensez à nous, vos enfants et futurs éco-citoyens du 21e
As
siècle.
the children and future eco-citizens of the 21st century. And don't forget, if you're not a member of the earth, you don't exist.
Est-ce qu'il est trop
Who's
tard?
going to help us?
Qui va nous
Qui
aider?
va nous aider?
Qu'allez-vous faire? What are you going to do?
Nous vous remercions du fond de nos cœurs remplis d'espoir.
Nous vous remercions du fond de nos cœurs.
Bottom of our
remplis
hearts,
d'espoir.
we are full of hope.
All the eco cities are here to fight against climate change.
On behalf of C40, welcome to the Climate Summit.
Metropolis is committed to changing the climate, starting with our city, Montreal.
FMDV is here
to commit to the fight against climate change.
Yükselci adına bu zirveye kararlılığımızı tam.
On behalf of Climate Alliance, I'm really happy to be here in Paris at the Climate Summit for local leaders.
Energy Cities and we are proud to be part of the Climate Summit of local leaders.
Le R20 et moi, nous nous engageons à trouver des solutions.
Energy for SD welcomes you to Paris.
Bienvenue à Paris de la part de l'AIMF.
On behalf of CMR and Platforma, bienvenue à Paris.
Ensemble, nous avons pris une décision, nous engager résolument dans la lutte pour le changement climatique.
Welcome to Paris.
Welcome to Paris. Voilà les participants et les partenaires de ce grand sommet du climat qui se tient ici à l'Hôtel de Ville. Bienvenue. Nous remercions Natacha et Melchior qui ont fait l'effort de parler anglais, de nous présenter tous les enjeux. Et nous avons aussi écouté les enfants de
The children, we heard the children from the Ferdinand de Lesseps School. So the youth of these children shows how important it is to think about the future of our planet, our environment, and our world today, which will be their world going forward. Welcome one and all to the mayors, over 1,000. We have mayors from all of France and also from the largest cities in the world. And we'll have a discussion to see what we can do to protect our planet. I'd like to thank Annie Hidalgo for welcoming us and Michael Bloomberg, the two co-organizers of this summit.
Merci beaucoup à tous, à tous les leaders locaux.
Je vois qu'Alain Juppé sourit. And the great mayors of the big cities in the world, they will talk about their own experiences And of course, it's very important. Maybe it's the most important event of COP21 in Paris. And of course, thank you to Anne Hidalgo and thank you to Michael Bloomberg. Ils sont dans une autre salle, sur une autre scène, en compagnie de Francine Lacroix, car il faut savoir que les débats de cet après-midi vont se tenir dans ces deux grandes salles de l'hôtel de ville qu'Anne Hidalgo a mises à notre
rooms in the City Hall, which has been made available to us. So, Francine, I'll let you introduce the Mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, and Michael Bloomberg.
Merci, cher Michael.
Oh, thank you very much, Michael, dear friends, dear mayors, dear children. It was a great deal of emotion that I'm opening this session after the children have expressed their demands and hopes. And this meeting is completing the work of several years and several months, because today it is not a meeting that we have organized because of COP21, and it's not because of that timing, and it's not a copy of the other meeting either. It's the summit, the summum of all the discussions and all the research, all the debates that we've been carrying out for a long, long time. And this is the embodiment of the true diplomacy of cities that gives a central role to peripheral powers that acquire a central role at long last. This diplomacy springs from the uniqueness of each one of our territories and cultures. And it's about turning dreams into realities, words into acts, projects into realizations. It is concrete, and it is part of everyday life. It is not based on power play, but the strength of ties between elected representatives and administrations, ties between cities and citizens. This diplomacy of the cities that we have been carrying for a long time helps us to face up to the challenges every single day. And it is this diplomacy, by building on this diplomacy, that we can say that cities shelter more than half of the inhabitants of the planet. Yes, they are responsible in a great part for greenhouse gas emissions. But at the same time, they are fantastic sources of solutions and possibilities. These possibilities, each and every one of us can explore them every single day, and all this has to be done very close to the citizens. This is exactly our work as mayors. We want to give more room, more scope to these initiatives. And this is exactly what we are doing. We're going to put together our ideas and practices in order to contribute decisively to the negotiations of the state, because together we represent 50% of the solution for climate change in the world. It is an enormous potential weighted by hundreds of proposals that we carry forward all together. And these proposals are the ones that we have based ourselves on what we're doing, what we can imagine, because they have to do with housing, transportation, renewable energy, agricultural relocation, and ecological investments. It is all based on our competences as mayors, and we can influence the economy when it comes to public purchasing, innovating partnerships in private sectors, and all different kinds of initiatives by citizens. These solutions are universal because they allow to safeguard the rights and the common good. The acquisitions of which is being damaged by the ecological crisis, but at the same time, the children call their attention to very important points: access to education, health care for everyone. Dear friends, humanity has to adjust to global warming. We have to adjust to it, we have to mitigate it, but at the same time, we have to prove that we can resist, we are resilient, and we have to prove that we are able to do this. Our cities must not condemn people. They must help them to live much better. And this is what we're going to prove all together.
Madam Mayor, or Anne, if we can call you, we've got together long enough for everybody can call you, I suppose, by your first name. I just wanted to thank you on behalf of everybody here for your hospitality, for your leadership, your inspiration, and your graciousness. We are all in your debt, and I think it's fair to say the people of Paris are lucky to have you as their mayor. So a nice round of applause for our hostess. And then I wanted to thank the young people who shared their words with us. We want them to know that we hear their hopes and their concerns and recognize their determination. They are our future, and we have a profound responsibility to them and to their children to protect the world that they will inherit. To all of the mayors and leaders, you're being heard here as well, loud and clear. Today we're speaking for the first time with a unified voice, and it's been a great day so far. We were honored to be joined this morning by the great President of the Republic of France, President Hollande, and I want to again express our thanks to him for all that he has done to ensure these weeks are a turning point in the fight against climate change. We are off to an excellent start, and I'm looking forward to what we can accomplish this afternoon here in this room and throughout the building. And I don't think we can say it too often, Madam Mayor. You and the President have provided the kind of leadership that your city and this country needed through terrible times. Our thoughts are with you, and we will not forget the people who live in this wonderful city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Voilà, alors tout de suite la première partie de nos débats.
So we're going to move into the first part of our discussions. We have three sections this afternoon. First, we'll look at everything that cities do and have to do to deal with climate change. We'll also be discussing funding, finance, that's important. We'll also discuss things which major cities have already done to protect their environments, and we'll certainly discuss solidarity. Now, initially, let's look at the key issues during our discussions, and then we'll be welcoming Leonardo DiCaprio.
One of the real challenges, and we hope to actually have something today. Claire, put it straight. We need some action. Sir, if you'd like to follow me, because I have so many questions to so many of you here today. If we are going to fight climate change and try and find some kind of agreement and some kind of thing that we can actually do, if you'd like to follow me on stage, Mr. Husing.
Husang Lee.
How have you been finding it so far?
You know, the various assessments of science clearly indicates that we are warming climate, and we may face a very dire consequences if we fail to stop it. And clearly, we also know that there are means that we can take to stop it. And preventing climate change means we will create better jobs, we'll create better economy, we'll create better environment.
The IPCC really produced, I guess, the most comprehensive assessment, and this is what you're talking about. Is there one thing that surprised you that you would like to share with us today? Something that actually we talk about, but that hasn't been quite instilled into our minds?
Well, solution is very important. We are very much familiar about the problems of climate change, but solution is very important. Solution means that we will be able to tackle the climate change through our smart use of energy, through our smart use of natural resources. In the end, the solution will provide us a better economy, better environment, and ultimately a sustainable future.
We talk a lot about the problems. What is the solution, or at least one of the solutions?
Solution means, again, we will use our energy very smartly through innovative technologies, disruptive technologies, which will give us a new opportunity for new economy, job creation, better job, more job, and much more resilient economy, sustainable future again.
You talk about co-benefits. What does that mean?
Co-benefit means, for example, that by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we will be able to reduce air pollution, which by reducing air pollution, we will have improved public health. That's just one example. Other example is solution, again, is related to solution to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We'll probably have to use more renewable energy sources that will help us to improve the energy security. That's another example. Co-benefit is a very important driver for taking action. That we should pay very close attention to these co-benefits.
Mr. Hosing Lee, thank you. As I go around the room, it is very clear that each of you have something that needs to be said. Another part of the story that we need to make sure that we listen to, the mayor of Los Angeles, Mr. Eric Garcetti. What is your one thing that you think people aren't quite getting the real message of?
Well, first let me say it's incredible to be here with my fellow mayors and to be a part of history. And if we could pull off the most complicated photograph ever taken of the most mayors, I think climate change is going to be relatively easy. But for all of us, we see, in our cities that we have to take those actions. In Los Angeles, for instance, we released a sustainable city plan this last year. We pledged to reduce our carbon emissions by 80%. We pledged to get completely off of coal for the generation of our electricity. And one of the other things we've done is to pledge to cut our imported water. Many people have seen the drought in California in half. And one of the most exciting things is we're reducing our energy by putting people into new forms of transportation. Our police officers, for instance, we had Elon Musk here earlier today, are actually driving Teslas. We have over 100 EVs that are being used by our detectives and by our police officers. They're very quiet so they can creep up on criminals, without being heard, but they're also doing a great thing for the environment. So we're putting that into action in all aspects of our work.
And you made a good point that, of course, the people are behind you, because as mayor, you need to make sure that that message gets through to citizens.
That's right. I mean, the mayors are a powerful group, but we're only as powerful as our people. In Los Angeles and California, as we face this drought, and so much of bringing water to our cities takes energy as well, we set a goal of reducing our water usage by 20% in 2 years. Well, the people each acted. They took their grass out and put more beautiful plants that took less water. They turned off the faucet when they were shaving or took shorter showers. And 1 year into that pledge, we're 17% down with our water use. So people are immensely powerful, whether it's the young children we saw here today kicking this off, or somebody who's a mayor. We can each take our individual actions very seriously too.
Mayor, thank you. It's amazing when you look around the room. There are so many of you with different stories. We're going around the world in 2 minutes. Mayor, thank you so much. Mayor Gregor Robertson of Vancouver. What is your story?
Well, I'm very proud to represent a city that is striving to be the greenest city in the world. We have stiff competition and this very friendly competition, but I think cities around the world can all learn from each other in this quest to be cleaner and greener. In our case, our new goal is to be 100% renewable energy, all of our energy uses, by 2050 at the latest. And that will depend on technology, that will depend on people changing their lifestyles, but we've had enormous support by the people of Vancouver so far.
How are you seeing the effects of climate change in Vancouver?
Well, Vancouver is a port city on the west coast of North America. We have the ocean at our doorstep. Just a matter of weeks ago, we had ocean damaging our seawalls, breaking up our seawalls and beaches. So we are feeling the impact of sea level rise directly. We're having more extreme weather. So we project $10 billion in cost to keep the ocean out of our city over the next couple decades. So it's a very significant impact for us financially, economically, and a big impact on our lifestyle.
Greenest City 2020 action plan. Give me the top 3 points.
Well, we had an enormous number of people in the city engaged in this. About 35,000 people helped to write the plan to become the greenest city. It's 10 big goals to take care of our city into the future. We've learned a lot from other cities who are striving to do this as well. And the good news is it's been very popular, a lot of support around our city for this action. It's very positive and aspirational. A lot of things in politics are not so positive. So it's nice to have goals that everyone can help move along in their own personal lives. People can make a difference. Each of us can make a difference. And those of us making decisions in City Hall are emboldened by this. We want to take more action to accelerate the pace.
Your strongest hope for today? There's a lot of idea sharing.
A lot of idea sharing, and I'm hopeful that our collective voice is stronger and stronger than ever. We partner a lot with business in our cities, with our citizens, and collectively we are going to take the action that is so necessary to turn this around. And hopefully our national leaders are even better partners than they've been, and we can get a lot done together.
All right, with that message of hope, thank you, Mayor Robertson.
Merci.
Merci.
Thank you, Francine, thank you. And now nous sommes très heureux, we are very happy to welcome Leonardo DiCaprio, acteur, producteur. Hi, c'est a great honor, grand honneur de vous recevoir. Vous êtes un acteur engagé, un producteur engagé.
I want to first off thank Mayor Hidalgo for your hospitality during this difficult time for your city. We assemble here as our world faces a variety of crises. But one thing is fundamentally clear. We are able to solve our greatest challenges when we find the will to work together. I also want to thank Mayor Bloomberg for inviting me to be a part of this event here, and for your leadership on climate action. In particular, your commitment to this cause is an absolute inspiration for public and private leaders and concerned citizens across the globe. We gather here on what may be the most important conference of anyone's lifetime. Our world's leaders are here in Paris in an effort to finalize a global agreement 20 years in the making, to finally address the very real threat that climate change poses to our planet. These leaders have met before. They have met in Kyoto, they have met in Copenhagen, and in the cities on every continent, but each and every time they have come up short. This time must be different, because we are fundamentally running out of time. Climate change is the most fundamental and existential threat to our species. The consequences are unthinkable, and worse, it has the potential to make our planet unlivable. The solutions we seek require all of us to make real changes in the way we live our lives, operate our businesses, and govern our communities. Our future will hold greater prosperity and justice when we are free from the grip of fossil fuels. Now, to get there, we must act. We must finally leave behind the inefficient technologies of another century and the business models that they have created. Now, in an effort to understand the real impacts of climate change, as a UN messenger of peace, as a concerned citizen, and for my upcoming climate documentary, I've traveled to places like the Arctic, the Antarctic, Greenland, where scientists were astonished to find once solid, impermeable ancient glaciers rapidly melting away. In Canada, I have seen the devastation left behind in the wake of energy giants who have leveled large tracts of the great boreal forests in an insatiable quest for tar sands oil. In India, I met with farmers in a village outside of New Delhi whose crops and livelihoods have been destroyed by unprecedented flooding. One thing has become fundamentally clear, that the world's most poor and underprivileged are the first to feel the devastating effects of climate change. No matter what country, region, or continent, the evidence of climate change is apparent, and it is apparent right now. There's no doubt to scientists or to the millions around the world that this is a result of man-made activity. And a year which has been the hottest in recorded history, it is hard to understand how some still refuse to accept the reality of climate change. Every year that we allow their refusal to hold the world back from making progress is another year gone. Precious days, weeks, months, and years wasted on inaction. But today is different. Across the globe, people of all communities are demanding change, marching and raising their voices to say enough is enough, we must act, and we must all act now. Our world leaders have come to Paris constricted by politics, the individual needs of their constituencies, but we need to leave here liberated by their humanity and emboldened by their sense of stewardship to our planet. They have a choice: be timid and stop at an agreement that merely allows them to save face, or they can lead. They can return to their own towns and cities with a real plan to save the planet. And it is these cities that the change must start. Over half the world's population lives in urban areas that generate more than 70% of global emissions that are driving climate change. Imagine what could be achieved if these population centers were transformed into models for sustainability, powered by 100% renewable energy. This sounds like the kind of an idea that an actor might come up with, but believe it or not, it is achievable. Professor Mark Jacobson and his team of researchers at Stanford University recently proved that we can meet the world's energy demand with 100% clean renewable energy using existing technologies by 2050, and to avoid many of the unthinkable effects of climate change. To do this, local and regional leaders, like all of you, must move quickly to enact policies that support a transition to low-carbon transportation, energy-efficient buildings, better waste management, and renewable energy. Model cities like Vancouver, Sydney, Stockholm, and Las Vegas have already committed to using 100% renewable energy in the coming decades. These cities have shown true leadership to tackle climate crisis head-on. This shift doesn't require scientific breakthroughs. The technology exists right now. All we need is political will and strong leadership from all of you. So to all the mayors and governors in this room today, I implore you to join with your peers to commit to moving to no less than 100% renewable energy as soon as possible. Do not wait another day. The Compact of Mayors formed under Mayor Bloomberg's leadership today encompasses 361 cities, over 337 million people, pledging to take bold action on climate change. But that number needs to grow. I challenge all of you to please do more. Whether you are an elected public official, a business leader, a mother, a father, or a student, you must commit today to making your communities and companies more resilient and more sustainable. Regardless of the scope of this agreement, now what is reached here in Paris, the real work lies ahead. It lies in this room. You are the catalysts of that. At a moment where our differences push us all apart, we can find common cause together, our shared interest in a sustainable future. We are now in a race to better ourselves, to better our planet. Please do not let fear and doubt slow all of you down. Be bold, be courageous, do everything in your power to change our current course. After all, the entire world is watching you. Thank you.
Il y a des endroits où nous avons réussi à introduire beaucoup plus la végétation, à avoir des sols perméables.
Vegetation, to have more permeable soil so the land could absorb more rain. We still have a lot to do on this immense territory around Paris.
Prepared for severe coldness or severe hot. So this is the most important thing that faces us as a municipality on one hand and citizens on the other hand.
Des événements naturels liés au changement climatique.
Natural events related to climate change have surfaced in the city of Noachok. Let me give you some examples. There's the risk of flooding due to heavy rain. During the winter period between July and October. So decisions of emergency response and assistance have been made in order to deal with the situation in the Noachok community.
Voilà donc le début de notre tout premier débat.
So this is the beginning of our first roundtable discussion. Here are the participants in the discussion. Have a seat, please.
Ici, Ada. Here. Je vais vous les présenter
So I'm
rapidement.
going to introduce them briefly. I explained earlier that we're going to discuss this topic. So we're going to begin by looking at the imperatives for our cities in France and the rest of the world in order to deal with climate change. So first, we have Félix Santi, who has come from far away from the Amazonian forest, who is the president of the Quechua people from Sariapi. And then with us, we have a woman who's a mayor of a major city, Ana Caol, who is the mayor of the city of Barcelona. We're delighted to have you with us. And from New Orleans, represented by its mayor, Michel Andrieux. Welcome. And finally, the mayor of Amman, the capital of Jordan. I'd like to thank you for being with us. So, the first question for you, Mitch Landrieu, who you're the mayor of New Orleans, and we're going to discuss water management. We know the danger due to climate change with the risk of flooding and heavy weather. This is something you're familiar with. What have you done to deal with these risks? What have you done? Repeating the question in English.
Do you hear the translation? No, you don't hear the translation. So, we talk about water and the flood, yes. I just want to know what you did in your town, yes, après, in your town, just to manage water and to fight against the main risk of floods.
Well, I thank you for that, and of course to Mayor Hidalgo and to Mayor Bloomberg and all gathered. I'm here representing the City of New Orleans and also the United States Conference of Mayors, so I'm thankful to be with you. Notwithstanding the catastrophic impact that Hurricane Katrina had on the City of New Orleans, we were underwater 17 feet of water. As you know, we're surrounded by water. And one of the things we have begun to do in response to the continuing existential threat, as the sea levels rise and our coast deteriorates, if we don't do anything differently, the City of New Orleans is unlikely to exist 100 years from now. And so we began a very robust resiliency strategy in partnership with 100 Resilient Cities to build a levee system, to also begin to reconstruct the city in a much, much stronger way, to begin to work with water rather than against it, to also begin on the climate change perspective of change the way we light the city, change the way we conduct our transportation, change the way we pick up garbage, and otherwise try to reduce the risk of the damage that we know is going to come our way if we don't act on the events that we're speaking about today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrieux. Juste avant de poursuivre ce débat, nous allons écouter.
We are going to listen to questions raised by citizens on this topic. So we'll listen to the questions first, and then we'll continue our discussion with the mayors who are with us. To know what steps you're doing in order to deal with the ice caps that are melting and how that affects the city of Rio de Janeiro. I think water and air quality are important. What are you planning to do about that?
In which world will live our children? Do they have to pay for good water? Can they breathe?
Voilà quelques questions qui se posent. Je me tourne maintenant
So I'm going to turn to Ana Calvo. You're the mayor of Barcelona. You understand French, so thank you very much for speaking with us in French. So what have you done, or what are you planning to do in your city, in Barcelona, in order to establish new functions and features related to environmental protection? Is it important to create new departments? Do you have to create new departments to deal with this?
Merci beaucoup. Sí, muchas gracias. Bueno, en Barcelona hay una cosa que tenemos muy clara y es que si no queremos que el clima cambie, tenemos que cambiar nosotras. Tenemos que cambiar las personas, los países y las ciudades, ¿no? La cuestión del clima no es un tema aparte que se pueda tratar de forma sectorial. Es un problema de modelo estructural, es un problema de modelo económico también, y eso hay que poder abordarlo. Y es un problema también de hábitos de consumo. Entonces hay que ser valientes, decididamente, y abordar la cuestión del modelo. Y para eso, una de las aportaciones que me parece importante de Barcelona es que hemos hecho un proceso muy amplio a nivel de ciudad, muy participativo desde abajo, contando con la aportación de más de 800 organizaciones ciudadanas sociales.
More than 800 associations have been participating in this process so as to have a real commitment in favor of the climate. And it's not just in Barcelona, but all the communities and all the citizens are participating. And the key question is that everybody should pitch in. Public transportation, the commitment to reduce emissions by 40% before 2030, and make sure that every citizen has plus 1 square meter of green land. And of course, it is very important also to have renewable energy, green energy, and this is what we want to have. But of course, we cannot be satisfied with just that. We have to take steps, we have to promote new measures, and I think that more women should be involved in politics, and this is something that the cities should be able to do. And since we are working with local citizens, we have to deal with people, the climate, and all this has to be at the heart of our policy, and we need women to do that. So this is a very important question. We're going to turn to Felix Santi. He comes from the rainforest, and he is a member of the Sarayaku Nation, and you have very specific problems at home. You have to protect the forest. What are you planning to do in order to protect your environment and nature? Well, first of all, I would like to thank Anne Hidalgo and Michael Bloomberg and all the mayors who are present here, who have invited us and who are listening to us now. And the native peoples and the environment are particularly closely linked, and this is extremely important to us. And we have just heard that children are appealing to us. They have expectations vis-à-vis us, and this is extremely important. The First Nation in Ecuador, we drew up management plans dealing with existing resources because the forest is so important there, and the Sarayaku combat is in favor of everyone, in fact. And this is why we are working towards our own vision based on the living forest. It's a philosophy whereby you have to respect Mother Nature, because the life of every single being springs from Mother Nature, and Mother Nature will guarantee the survival of future generations, and that is our source of hope, and that's why we are here. This is an extremely important event because at long last, governments, heads of state are making decisions in favor of us. And we want to make sure that they are really heeding this advice and have future generations, Pachamama, motherland, to survive. I'm going to turn to you now. You are a mayor of Amman, Akal Litaye. Amman in Jordan. And do you think that your fellow countrymen, the inhabitants of your country, are aware of the ecological risks, especially in a large city like Amman?
Thank you very much. And we are also aware of a new wave that comes along with the heat waves and the cold waves and the storms. It's called immigration. It's as His Majesty King Abdullah II rephrased Arnold Toynbee's definition of history as geography in motion. He redefined that. He said it's demographies in motion nowadays. It's people. And along with that comes a lot. It's in adaptability, it's in behavioral, it's this paradigm change, and I think the Lady Mayor of Barcelona touched upon that when she said it's something that we have to do. We have to change ourselves. We have to adapt to all this. Now in my country, and we pray. We go out to the desert and we go out to the mountain tips and pray that God gives us rain. We get an average of 400 millimeters a year in the good years. And on November 5th, I was blessed with 50 millimeters of rain in about 25 minutes. So the city flooded, and so I think they stopped praying now. But just to show you that this is happening, the next day it was in Riyadh, the following day it was in Jeddah, then it moved into Qatar, then moved down to Oman and back into Alexandria and Beirut and an Israeli city south of Tel Aviv, where it also drowned. So the weather is not misbehaving. Nature is not misbehaving. Nature is in a verse in the Quran, and the Quran that the moderate, the true Islam, and not the Islam of the terror that some are carrying. It says we have created everything in the equilibrium. So that means if something is on a plus, there's something on the minus. We as human beings have to understand that. So it is, again, I will talk about the human capital, the social capital, a word I liked it came around in this conference. It came around also how we should behave about it.
Thank you very much, Akel Biltaji. Thank you. Peut-être brièvement avant de passer à...
Very briefly, before moving on to another subject and to pursue our debate, could you tell us what you're expecting from COP21, Mitch Landrieu? Because all the leaders of the world are in Paris.
It's important to have this sort of meeting, this annual meeting.
Well, first of all, we expect a lot,
Yes.
is the short answer. But secondly, I would say that as mayors, we are particularly aware of the fact that we are the ones who have to make things happen. When you speak about picking up garbage a different way or creating a new transit system or changing the light system, we're the ones that actually have to make it happen. So I think one of the things that we expect is that whatever it is that they agree to, we have the ability to do the job that they're going to be asking us to do, because we are, in some instances, the tip of the spear. But I think it also is worth saying that it's very powerful to have 1,000 mayors who represent all of the people really at the lowest level of government, and sending a very clear message to our world leaders that it really matters, because there are still climate skeptics. And I think it's important for us to stand united to give them the political will, if you must, to do the things that are necessary, as Mr. DiCaprio said so earlier, because in a very real way, in my city and many other cities, it is very much an existential threat, meaning that if we don't do things that change what we're doing now, we may very well cease to exist, and time is running out. I have no doubt that we can do it. I do believe it is about willpower, and it's about being smart, and it's about new technology. And then, of course, finally, it's about mayors and the people who elect mayors preparing themselves to be ready and strong for things that come their way, because Mother Nature will have her way. And becoming strong, becoming resilient, building well, building smart, being prepared are really the order of the day, because as the mayor said, in one instance you said Mayor Garcetti said he needed water. This mayor said for a moment he had too much. Water can be life-giving and it can be life-taking. Being prepared for it, knowing how to deal with it so that you can reduce your risk is also an important strategy to deal with climate change.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Mitch Landrieux, votre point de vue, au point of view à Dacola.
What about your point of view? What are you expecting from this meeting? Do you think it is really going to bear fruit? I expect a great deal from it. Not only that I expect a great deal from it, I demand a great deal. As mayor of Barcelona, as a citizen of the earth, of the planet, I want everyone to act. I don't want just words. I don't want declarations. This is urgent. We cannot wait. And it is extremely important to point out as well that all those who contribute to pollution, all those who emit greenhouse gases, well, these are industrialized countries, ourselves. And the people who are suffering from it, who bear the brunt of all this, are the countries that have not contributed to this. They are developing countries, but now water, drought, flood will not pick and choose. It concerns every one of us, every single one of us. And it's not just cities, it's also states. And we have to make changes. The changes will not be easy. We have to change our lifestyle. We have to change our economies. And not just one or two people, but all of us have to pitch in together, and we need true political will to do so. So what about the meaning of your presence here? Do you think it is very important for you to bear witness to the situation here in Paris at COP21? For us, as First Nation, I have to say that we are directly influenced by this. Climate change for us is absolutely key. And it wasn't easy to come all the way to Paris, but we wanted to be present because we wanted to give you our views. And as the mayor of Barcelona has just pointed out, now is the time to act. We cannot wait any longer. We have to be conscious of this in our hearts, in our minds, and we have to know that we must move ahead and change technology, use technology, change the economy, and we all have to contribute to this. Everybody has to help. Everybody has to contribute in order to face up to climate change. What about you, Akel Bitaji? How do you see this, seeing all the heads of state from the entire planet here?
Has led us into in unison not in singing only, but also shouting. And our voices and voice is heard. Governments must understand that the local governments cannot do it alone by themselves. So there should be that link. Another thing is, I'm going back committed in a number of ways. I have seen the world gather in Paris in solidarity against terror, as my country is, and now to fight a change of weather and the impact. Now the emission, we can all do something about it right away. So we have to go and apply things that I have learned from my other fellow mayors. So the commitment to go back for a sustainable, resilient, and also work for a prosperous society.
Merci infiniment, merci beaucoup à Kel Biltaji.
Thank you so much for your words, and please give the participants a round of applause because all of this is important for the planet. Thank you for representing all of us. And of course, everything is happening in every single room in Paris City Hall. Francine Lacroix is on the main stage in order to talk to President Palau.
Next, with some very special remarks, is someone who's actually experienced our climate change firsthand. Please welcome His Excellency Tommy Rebenginsau, the President of Palau. As he comes to the stage, I want to tell you a little bit about this man, because he'll probably be too humble to talk about his awards. He is the 8th President of the Republic of Palau. He is the first Palauan to have been elected 3 times. In 2007, Time magazine named him as one of the heroes of the environment for initiatives such as Micronesia Challenge. But you were also given the biggest award by the United Nations in 2014, the Champion of the Earth Award. And I just leave you with a few very wise words that the President said. To preserve the best is how he won his last re-election. To preserve the best and improve the rest. President.
Ali, and thank you. I think all of us here are champions of the earth, so thank you for that kind introduction. I would like to begin by expressing my heartfelt thanks to President Holland for his leadership and vision for a successful COP21 outcome. And likewise, thank you, Mayor Hidalgo and the people of Paris for welcoming us to their beautiful city as we all take part of a historic event. When the world comes together to take action to fight climate change, it is only fitting that the name of this city will become synonymous with climate change for generations to come. And finally, I would like to recognize Mayor Bloomberg, who has been a leader in the fight against climate change in New York and around the world. Paris has been a trailblazer in developing better ways of living that are also better for the climate. Your bike sharing program is the largest in Europe and the most popular in the world. And now you are pioneering an electric car sharing program that is helping to redefine the industry. I have also learned about your country's impressive new building regulations, and I look forward to seeing Parisian rooftops covered in green plants and solar panels. These are tangible solutions that Paris has developed locally that others can learn from. I think one of the powerful messages coming out of the Paris Climate Change Conference is that cities and islands can lead the way to a low-carbon future. Island nations, like all cities, are living the disastrous impacts of climate change. Sea level rise, coral bleaching, ocean acidification, and the unusual frequency of natural disasters. Yes, my friends, we are indeed on the front line and the most vulnerable. The Republic of Palau joined the global effort by submitting an ambitious INDC. Although our emissions are tiny, like those of most small islands, big ocean states, we are doing our part for the planet and for the health and well-being of our people. Currently, we are heavily reliant on expensive diesel fuel. Not only does that lead to greenhouse gas emissions, but it is also a serious drain on our budget. It's simply not sustainable. Full implementation of our INDCs will put us on a course to be a renewable energy leader in the Pacific. Diversifying our energy supply will make Palau more resilient to climate change as well as reduce our emissions. Working with our partners, we expect to reduce emissions by half as against business as usual in 2025. Like cities, small islands are eminently local. Because we are self-contained and have relatively small energy demands, islands are an ideal laboratory for demonstrating the transformative capacity of renewable energy technologies. On small islands, modest resources can have a truly transformational impact. We can transition our electricity generation and our water delivery systems with modest, targeted investments. However, we are not without our challenges, and we cannot do it alone. For our INDC, as with our new Palau National Marine Sanctuary, which you may have heard about, we are protecting an area of ocean the size of France. The challenge now is implementation. For this, we count on partnerships, including with many of you here in the room today. Palau is committed to help solve the most urgent challenge we face today: climate change, ocean health, and sustainable development. We are doing our part, but we need partnerships. Partnerships, partnerships, in the truest sense of the word, to help us do more. For us, our INDC and our marine sanctuaries are fundamental parts of living in the pristine paradise we call home. My friends, unsustainable industrial-scale fishing and smokestacks have no place in paradise. Friends, I came to COP21 very optimistic that we would have a new era of cooperation on climate change coming out of Paris. And I am very hopeful here today that with all of you, we can succeed. Thank you very much.
Place maintenant à la deuxième partie de
Now we're going to turn to the second part of our debate. Now you realize the tasks that are awaiting the cities, what they have to do, but it is absolutely fascinating to see how many things have already been introduced and how many mayors have come to Paris precisely to tell you about their experiences, urban development, transportation, and this is what we're going to illustrate now in pictures.
preventing the worst of climate change. We've been talking about the challenges. Now let's try and find the solutions. I'm very pleased to be joined by the mayor of Montréal, Denis Coderre. What are some of the things that you've been implementing?
Well, we've done a lot of things. First of all, we start by consulting people. So when we're talking to have a bottom-up issue, and if there's a message that we have to send to all the chief of state, we like what they're doing, but it's not about just principle, it's about action. And if they want to make it work, they have to be inclusive, and they have to make sure that all the mayors be part of the decision-making process. That's first thing. Deuxièmement, je vous dirais que ce qu'on a fait, c'est que...
Second, let me explain what we've done. We've been working to develop an adaptation program. Montreal is a great green city, 99% renewable. It's got lots of hydro. So transportation and heating are all organized so that we can do something very positive regarding climate change. Well, we did have a number of major issues. One was our waste management system. We had 40,000 tons just outside. It was a tip. And now it's become a part. We use biogas. It's very important. For the next, in the next 5 years, we won't be using that for landfill. We'll have 100% methanization or composting, and all of that will be taken into account.
Madame Mayor, Manuel Carmena of Madrid, what is the one thing that you wish that other people would replicate that you've put in place?
Bueno, yo creo que es muy importante.
Well, I think that it is extremely important to do locally everything what we can, and if we have the courage to do that, if we take the right measures in order to reduce greenhouse gas emission, because they are mostly responsible for climate change. And when I talk about courage, I realize that we have to feel this trust, we have to be confident, we have to be emboldened, and we have to work together for this. And in fact, we are trying to regulate traffic in order to reduce the emissions. And of course, some of these measures are really effective. But of course, you can no longer park your car in the center of the city because of pollution.
Many big metropolises face. Is there one thing that you want to implement in the next 5 years?
Sí, efectivamente, el tráfico que
Yes,
los gases tóxicos.
this is absolutely true. Traffic is very important because of toxic gases. We have to take that problem into account, and we must find a solution. We must change all this. But I would like to share an idea that I consider interesting. And I think that it is absolutely indispensable to be able to work in a spirit of sharing, that we have to have transparency. First of all, information and all the data that we have in the city halls of the different cities have to be conveyed to other places, other cities, and have to be available to all citizens. For instance, in Madrid, all the people know the exact figures about pollution. And another point that I would like to underscore is the value of setting an example. Local authorities have to set an example, and we also have to take.
When you look around the room and you speak to a lot of mayors, you also can picture the cities and all of their challenges. Joan Claus, you're executive director of UN Habitat. When you talk to mayors, when you talk to policymakers, is there another way of looking at it? Is there one thing that would be so simple that maybe people miss an opportunity to do something about?
Well, I think that, as the mayors have said, there's no simple solutions and there's no general recipes that can be applied everywhere. But what is common in every fight against climate change is the political will of the leaders. And I have seen that in the mayors, when they are committed and they express their will to improve, they are showing this leadership. And if we look back in the last 20 years, especially since Rio, the first conference in Rio, and until the next conference of Rio, and then towards Paris, we have been, the local authorities, the mayors, much more committed to climate change than other levels of government. I think that this is very important. Mayors are leading, and I think that this is a very important example to be followed by national leaders.
Why is that? Because mayors are closer to the ground? Because there's more pressure from citizens?
Yeah, I think that is a little, first, they see the problems, they are more in contact with the people, and the people really, they are more moved. And you have seen in very different parts of the world, the European mayors, the American mayors, many mayors in the developing world, that they are already committed, even with when their national government is lagging a little, you know, with the legs.
Let's hope they like less.
Well, I think that we need now in this summit in Paris to step forward and to say, yes, now is the time.
Thank you so much. Drawing close. Clara, I'm going to hand it back to you because I know you have a very special interview.
Thank you. Thank you. Autre temps fort de ces débats cet après-midi.
Another key issue we're going to be examining here, we have a number of major things. Now, we have Robert Redford, who's with us. He's an engaged actor, a producer. He runs the Films of Substance, a major festival. So we're welcoming Robert Redford. Thank you for being with us. Robert Redford also represents an environmental NGO, National Resources Council.
Very important to announce today, Robert Redford, with 3 partners. I precise this partner. Je précise les 3 partenaires de l'opération.
Mention the 3 partners for the operation. Robert Redford is going to announce this. We have Bloomberg Philanthropies, the Kresge Foundation, and the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation.
To announce to us, Robert Redford, about the expansion of the city energy project.
What about it?
Yes, what about it? What do you want to tell?
That's why I'm here.
Yes. What does it mean, this project?
It means that finally this issue is beginning to move, and it's being moved by mayors.
Yeah.
And I've been involved with it. Do we want to sit down, or do we want to sit?
Yes, of course, sit down. Thank you.
So I'll give you, we don't have much time.
Okay, no.
So I don't want to take up too much time, but my personal history with this issue goes back about 40 years. And so because the climate change, the issue was something that bothered me 40 years ago, I was hopeful that in time things would move and we would do something about it. But then time went by and nothing happened, and I wondered, why is nothing happening? This is an issue that needs to be addressed back then. So it was urgent then, and now I think it's more urgent than ever. And that's why I'm here, to talk about it. But what happened was, the reason was that the issue was there and it was being talked about for years and years and years, but nothing was happening. And I wondered why nothing was happening. And I realized that at that time we were dependent on the political system to make something happen. But the political system, in other words, in the United States, the Congress had members in the Congress that were resistant to change.
Yeah.
They were afraid of change. They didn't trust change. And since change is inevitable, so it slowed everything down. So nothing was happening, and I got frustrated. So I decided, well, maybe the way to go is to move aside to a place that's less political, put a group of people in who are less political and are closer to the people, closer to the ground, and that was mayors. So about 10 years ago, we invited mayors to come to Sundance in Utah at my place.
Mayors all around the United States?
The United States.
Yes.
This was not the world, this was the United States. That's all I could afford. So at any rate, they came and we discussed it, and still nothing really happened. So the frustration just grew and grew and grew, and I thought, I'm very committed to this, because I think mayors, being closer to the ground, closer to the people, they're really the force that should be worked with. It wasn't going to come from the top, it was going to come from the ground. So that's why I got committed to mayors then, and why I'm committed to mayors now, and why I'm here.
Yes. And was it successful, this project with mayors?
Well, it was successful locally.
Yes.
It was successful on a small basis, but the issue kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the people to talk about it or make something happen was not growing. And I felt that because of the loss of time, the loss of action was going to be costly for the American people. So that's why I decided to come here. And then also, we won't get into it, but I have a personal history here with Paris. It goes back many years when I was a younger person. We won't get into that. But it became personal for me to be here, and the fact that the mayors were now having this conference, it was going to be international. I thought, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to come back to the city that I love, but also to deal with an issue that I thought was beyond important.
You talked about politicians, American politicians in the parliament.
That's all I can talk about.
Do you think that the American people are aware of all that problems?
No, I don't. I don't think all of the American people are aware. I think there's many things they're concerned about, they're aware of, but they're concerned about security issues like that. So I don't think it's the top issue of concern for the American people, but I think it should be a greater concern, and I would like to play whatever role I can in increasing that visibility. So.
Yes. And Robert Redford, do you think it's important to be in Paris, of course, but what do you hope with this COP21, this summit in Paris, with all the foreign leaders, Barack Obama, the Chinese president, everybody who came to Paris just to participate and to debate? Do you think it's important?
Yeah, I do. I think it's important. I think it's important to be in Paris because I love Paris.
Yeah.
So, but beyond that, I think that Paris, because Paris has a history as a European center, it's got a history that goes back many, many years. And so I feel that Paris is a wonderful place to bring people together. And because the issue needs to be elevated, the issue needs more attention. The idea that it could happen in Paris, to use that place to draw attention to it, I think is really great. And then also, I feel that mayors, for reasons I've already said, mayors being closer to the people and closer to the ground and less political than maybe governors or congressmen, they're less political. It's not that they're not political, they're just less political. Sometimes politics can get in the way of something, can get in the way of things moving because of partisanship and that kind of thing. And so because we don't have bipartisanship in our Congress, it's very partisan, and therefore things are kind of stuck. So I think mayors are a wonderful group to work with. That's why I'm here.
And Robert Redford, you are an actor, a very famous actor. You are a producer.
I don't know about that, but...
Yes, you are. For us, French people. Do you think it's important for an actor to involve, to engage, to fight, to be concerned? In your movies, you make films of substance. Do you think it's important for an artist to get involved in a theme like climate?
Well, I think it can be a little dangerous for actors to get involved, because I think that probably most of the people will go see actors in a project. But I don't think they're particularly anxious to have them lecture them about their well-being. And so I think actors have to be careful. But on the other hand, I think an actor represents art. And I think that art can help describe an issue. I think that art can describe a social issue to draw attention to it. So I think an actor can play a good role in drawing attention to it, but I don't think actors should politicize something. Just describe it and let other people decide what they want to do, because the role of the artist is to transcribe what's going on in society, not necessarily to politically solve the problems.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much, Robert Bradford.
Is that it?
Yes,
Okay.
ça allait très bien. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alors voilà, nous avons le plaisir d'accueillir
So, we were honored to welcome Robert Redford. Now we're going to get back to political issues, policy issues, cities and concrete issues. Now we're going to be listening to Sylvia Bruel, who is the deputy mayor in Paris, responsible for environmental issues. So, is it important for you for this to be taking place at the City Hall in Paris? Yes, it's essential for us.
It is absolutely indispensable. We have set up all sorts of innovating policies, food, housing, energy, transportation, and of course this requires a great deal of participation on behalf of citizens, because this is very important. Ecological transition cannot be carried out without citizens. We, as the city, we've been doing a lot, but now we know a greater mobilization. You're very young, so obviously you have some experience in the matter, but do you think young people are sufficiently motivated, mobilized around these issues? In Paris, for example, I don't see youth as a question of age. I think it's a question of generations from the political point of view. I mean, people who are stuck in an old way of thinking, but now we need a paradigm change. We need a new model for society. And there are also young people who would like to reinvent policies. And even when we work in this beautiful building, the Paris City Hall, we want to go out and meet with the people. Yes, sometimes political parties are a little disappointing. I mean, some of them try to work on these subjects, but you turn to other actors. Yes, I have the feeling that this fractured line between the old and new generations includes also political parties. I do believe in the position and the importance of locally elected officials, and cooperation is the utmost importance. And when we're here today, regardless of our political colors, families, the important thing is solidarity and change. Yes, solidarity, north, south, rich and poor. Thank you so much. And now we are going to turn to Hidalgo, who is supposed to be on the main stage. She's going to tell us about a different aspect of the combat at the Paris City Hall. And of course, we see and feel some of the effects of this in this beautiful room. So what about innovation in the area of lighting? And yes, thank you so much. I would like to invite Eric Rondolet from Philips, because lighting is an innovation here that we worked out together. And in this beautiful room, beautiful hall at the Paris City Hall, we have renewed the entire lighting system, and 75% of electricity consumption is what we've been able to save. here it's a historical building, of course, but now, thanks to this technological innovation in our companies, we've been able to reduce electricity consumption by 75%. And I would like to give the floor to Eric Bandola.
Thank you very much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, each country participating in COP21 has committed to reducing its CO2 emissions. This is very encouraging, but it's still not enough to deal with climate change. We believe that the objectives regarding energy efficiency and electricity consumption reduction should be far more ambitious. We believe that we can and should double the current objectives. Technology exists. We don't have to invent new technologies to do that. Here, you're all representatives of cities. You account for 70% of global electric power consumption. You are key players in the energy transition. You have the authority, most likely, to renovate, refurbish buildings and infrastructures in order to improve energy efficiency. Here, we're in an iconic room, a historic room. I'm delighted to be here with the mayor of Paris. Yes, this is the room where the Second French Republic was proclaimed. Yes. So now this is the Fifth French Republic. And we rolled out an exceptional renovation project in this room. The Salle des Fêtes in Paris City Hall was entirely renovated with a new technology. This is LED-based lighting. There are two major impacts. First, if you look at the paintings on the ceiling, you will see things you could not see with conventional lighting. And as you've heard, we've reduced electric power consumption for lighting by 75%. So with cities, we can do great things to fight climate change and provide a better future for humanity. I have technology here. I'm going to ask you to press, and when you press 1, 2, 3, the lighting's going to change. So if you look at the details on the ceiling, in fact, these are frescoes which represent all of the provinces of France. At the time the building was erected. So the ladies you see here, and you see so well because of the lighting, represent all of the French provinces. At the time, there was a French province in Algeria, and here you see an Algerian woman representing the French province of Algeria.
Magnifique.
It's magnificent. And thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much, Anne, for this insight and lighting, a new way of looking at the City Hall festival room. Now we're going to be meeting Thomas Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee. Thomas Bach, so could you please join us on the stage here, Mr. Bach? So, hello, Thomas Bach. Are there any standards for the candidate cities for 2024? I didn't hear anything, but I suppose that you asked a number of questions. But first of all, please allow me to extend my warm thanks to the mayor, Annie Hidalgo, and to Mayor Bloomberg for the invitation to this important meeting, so important for the future of mankind.
It gives me the opportunity to tell you that the Olympic Games of today want to be a catalyst for sustainable development of cities and regions. And in this respect, we have totally changed our procedure for candidatures for Olympic Games and the organization. In the past, bidding for the Olympic Games was like applying for a franchise. We were asking cities how they would change their cities in order to host the Olympic Games. Now we are doing the contrary. Now we are asking the cities how the Olympic Games can serve best as a catalyst for their long-term development plan. And then we are considering how we can adapt the Olympic Games to these sustainable needs of the different cities. And as a very concrete contribution to this important meeting, we have made it obligatory for all the candidates for the Olympic Games 2024 to present us an ambitious carbon management and reduction plan in order to have, if possible, an emission-free and carbon emission-free Olympic Games. And there we are not coming from nowhere. We have seen great examples, for instance, with the Olympic Games London 2012, where a Sustainable Development Management Plan was devised, who is now serving as the ISO norm for all the major events on our planet. And in the framework of this plan, London has saved about 400,000 tons of carbon dioxide. And we want to go further with these requests for 2024. We have other examples for sustainable development, like the city of Rio. Mayor Paes is here. He can give you more information, but just one example maybe. When Rio was elected as a host city, about 6% of the population had access to public transportation. Now, next year, after the Olympic Games in Rio, 63% of the population will have access to public transportation. And this is one of the reasons why history one day will speak of a Rio de Janeiro before the Olympic Games and a much better one after the Olympic Games. To all these legacies, to these hard legacies, the IOC is contributing not only by putting forward ideas and giving advice, but also with a contribution for 2024 of about $1.7 billion US for the organization of the Games. All this is important, but what in our troubled days is maybe even more important, and this is the message which is coming from these Olympic Games. The Olympic Games are the only event in the world where you have athletes from all the 206 national Olympic committees living together under one roof, competing with each other, but sharing their meals with each other. And this is a very powerful message of tolerance, of solidarity, of respect, and of peace. And I think this is what we need in today's world more than ever before. Thank you for having this opportunity, Madame la Maire Hidalgo. Thank you to all of you, what you're doing in your cities for the youth in your cities, in your countries, and hopefully what you're also doing for sport. Thank you very much.
The first green building in Haifa is a Intel R&D center, which is the biggest R&D center in the world, and is bearing certificates for being so from England and the United States, which are meeting the highest standard of this kind.
Nous avions des véhicules d'occasion. qui consomme du diesel. Donc,
run on diesel fuel, and we know the impact on the environment. So we're regulating all that in order to limit the import of old cars if they're over 3 years old.
Steps to develop transportation fuel by hydrogen to transform Tokyo into a hydrogen society. We aim to be able to showcase the benefits of this new hydrogen-based society at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
In Stockholm, we have congestion charge system for cars entering and leaving the city area, and that has reduced cars with 20%, and that's really good for our carbon emission in Stockholm.
That's great. If it takes 12 minutes, that's okay. We don't want to ask multiple questions. Go.
We saw some of the actions that everyone's talking about, and I'm delighted to introduce my next panel because we talk about the problems. Let's talk a little bit about the solutions with people that actually know. These are the city solutions that everybody should be thinking about. They're the ones that maybe you want to implement, maybe they're the ones that you're thinking about implementing in the next couple of minutes. Let's please welcome with a warm round of applause my panel when we talk about city solutions, because if you look at the numbers, more than half of people on the planet live in cities. That's also where 70% of our harmful greenhouse gases from. So please welcome on stage Mr. Alain Juppé, Mayor of Bordeaux, Carolina Toja, Mayor of Santiago, Chile, and Robin Chase, founder and CEO of Buzzcar. Thank you so much for joining us, because you know, we've had some pretty good answers about what people are doing. We've had one that have said, I've listened to my colleagues and this is what I'm thinking of doing. So, Monsieur Juppé, je commence avec vous.
I'm going to begin with you, Mr. Juppé. What is the first thing what are you proudest of in having rolled out in Bordeaux? It's hard to choose. Most likely, the way that we have redeveloped the riverfront on the River Garonne. Historically, Bordeaux was built on one side of the river and turned its back to the river. And we changed that. We created parks. You can run, you can play, you can walk. We planted. It became a park in the city. So now, on the weekends, the Bordelais citizens prefer to stay in town along the riverfront rather than going to the beach. But we have a broad strategy that we can discuss to make our city not a model. That would be pretentious, but we're highly committed to sustainable development. So we have our Agenda 21. Our major objectives include mobility, transportation, because this causes the main greenhouse gas emissions, and then housing, old housing, new housing, and then nature in the town. These are the three actions we've rolled out. We've had some results. Now, we don't use any weed killers anymore in our parks, and we've also drastically reduced our water consumption and electricity consumption in our buildings.
Real people what their questions were. Let's have a listen.
Why are we still using fossil fuels?
¿Por qué los líderes mundiales y las diferentes empresas no intentan buscar
try to find other ways of packaging their products instead of using plastic?
What's your concern about the sea sound pollution?
These are some of the real questions that people want answered. And of course, you could have the greatest ideas in the world, but you need financing. This is one of the things that as mayors, you need to choose where you put your money in. Carolina Toja, as mayor of Santiago in Chile, how difficult is it to actually allocate finance and resources to climate change when you also need to help the poor, you need to take care of education?
Muy buenas tardes. La mayoría de las
Good afternoon, everybody. Most of the changes that we have to carry out from the point of view of climate change will work in the long run. And what we want to do is save money and at the same time act fairly, even-handedly. And we want to change our cities in such a way that pedestrians, bicycle riders, and public transportation would enjoy a priority, and that would be less expensive and less polluting than cars. And only 30% of the city dwellers use their cars, and we are promoting this type of measures. We would like to have more bicycle paths, and we want to spend money on public transportation, improve the network, and this is what we're trying to do. Recycling is also important, but at the outset, we have to invest money into them, but in the long run, they will lead to savings, because obviously the towns and cities won't have to spend so much money on waste management. Just the opposite, they will be able to draw profit from waste materials. And of course, insulation will help us save money on the buildings. And also the poorest families should also take advantage of the new technologies, because that is how these households will save money. So there is no excuse for...
Of course, Mayor Toha talking not only about transportation, but also about lighting. You're an entrepreneur in transportation. What is the biggest obstacle to actually make sure that there is less traffic, less pollution in cities? It seems that the people are behind it, because less traffic means you get to work on time.
I want to draw a parallel between what these mayors are saying was very successful to them and what we're seeing in the private sector in terms of innovation in transportation, is that there's a new economic organizational paradigm that is asking for the collaboration of people with platforms. So you developed what I would think of as platforms for participation, and the people brought their lives, their assets to it. And with what we're seeing in transportation, the rise of Uber, or the company I founded, Zipcar, when we make platforms that are really simple and welcoming for people, leveraging excess capacity, leveraging their co-investment, their participation, people want to participate. So your point around the price of things, cities need to think, what do they have as excess capacity? What can they open up and make simple for people to co-invest and bring? And around the realms of transportation, what cities have profoundly is they have control over the street space and over the parking allocations and who gets to use what. And we are now favoring private vehicles that take up a huge amount of space and just move one person. And we need to speak for the city and for the populations and say, we want to move more people more quickly. So shared vehicles, more people in those vehicles. And we're seeing a real rise of that, but it requires cities to say, we are creating laws and allocating space that offer up these platforms for participation, and then the private sector and individuals will follow in with their investments.
And this is for transportation. I imagine it's a lot easier than when you look at big buildings. Donc, quand vous regardez des grands immeubles qui doivent être rénovés pour justement...
Yet large buildings that have to be more energy efficient. Now, that's, I imagine, one of the major problems, one of the greatest challenges you face. Here's the microphone. Yes, I said that the second aspect, excuse me. I said the second aspect on our Agenda 21 was housing. Now, there are two aspects of housing. You have new buildings, and here it's easier to impose energy efficiency rules in new districts. For instance, we're building in Bordeaux, and I'm fortunate in that we have a good deal of land that we can develop, and we systematically roll out urban heating systems. We no longer have gas or oil fuel fired things. So we have geothermal sources. We also have water treatment sources, and we also have our forest that we can use for this. The larger challenge is related to the existing housing stock, where there are more housing units, and here we can't go as quickly with thermal renovation. There are two key reasons. One is something we don't always remember or think about. That's know-how by entrepreneurs. And often when you address a small business, the company doesn't know how to use new technologies, the best way of insulating a building or installing photovoltaic panels. So we're going to have to provide training for building trades professionals. The second aspect, obviously, as you said, is funding. All of these investments will have a return on investment. So they pay for themselves. Not immediately. It might take 4, 5, or 6 years. You have to prime the pump with funds, and we have financial incentives. The national government has tax breaks, but our local authorities can subsidize this type of thing to allow families to undertake renovation. This is a very slow process, and you have to encourage people, and after 4 or 5 years, we can move forward.
Leaders gathered in Paris. Does that automatically make your job a little easier? Do you get extra financing? Do you get extra support?
Es muy importante porque esos fondos permiten financiar proyectos que
This is absolutely very important because thanks to the grant, thanks to the funds, we would be able to finance projects that would lead to saving, in fact. But of course, these changes are very difficult to roll out. Either because of lack of funding or else because the citizens are not really ready to promote these changes. And of course, sometimes it is not just the mayor, sometimes even the city dwellers, the ordinary citizens want to change. But it's never easy to introduce all this. But at the same time, there is the type of industry that considers that the climate change is the source of profit for them. So they don't really want any change. But what we need is a change of mindsets. But of course, the car industry, for instance, does not want change because they don't feel that this would be a positive change. The oil industry does not welcome such changes. And also they don't want recycling either because they want to continue selling their products and they don't want change. So it is very important to have the necessary political will and overcome all these hesitations. It is on behalf of all these lobbies and all these economic powers that insidiously tend to be everywhere and act against change. And I think that this is precisely the main problem.
Mayor of Bordeaux, Carolina Toja, and Robin Chase. Last few words.
Je voudrais simplement dire qu'il y a des entreprises aussi qui ont compris qu'il fallait changer de comportement et qui s'engagent très fortement dans la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique. Bon, si vous voulez une conclusion, moi j'attends beaucoup évidemment de ce qui va se passer cette semaine ici à Paris pour la COP21. On est tous comme ça, très mobilisés, on fait confiance à nos chefs d'État pour trouver un accord, comme ça a été dit ce matin, universel, contraignant, vérifiable, qui évolue dans le temps et équilibré, parce que tous les pays ne sont pas dans la même situation. Mais Moi, j'ai une petite inquiétude, c'est que le lendemain de la COP 21,
I do have a degree of concern, however. That's after the meeting, everyone goes back to his or her country and continues with the same thing. There are other priorities. Struggle against terrorism, well, that's a priority for us, and other things. And they're going to ask their environment ministers to follow through with this. I respect environment ministers. I was a minister of the environment myself for only 1 month, but I think it would be better for governments, national governments, to trust elected officials, mayors and others, because we're in contact with citizens. We can be the interface and make change happen. It's fine to have initiatives, to provide incentives or constraints, but the most important thing is to see to it that our fellow citizens will buy into these things. That's not entirely the case now. There are other concerns, other worries among the members of the population. How can we act? First, young people. Well, we heard the message from those two young people, those children, who create tremendous responsibility for us. We also have to raise awareness among our citizens, and we have to provide genuine incentives. I see two incentives. Were you going to ask that question? No, I wasn't. We're out of time. Okay, well, I said, okay, the pocketbook and health are very important incentives for people, and this might help us to change people's attitudes, and I think this is how we have to move forward if we want people to get behind this and apply pressure on decision makers.
Claire now in Salle des Arcades. Merci Francine, merci Alain.
Yes, thank you, Francine. Thank you, Alain Juppé. So here, we're listening to mayors, and that's very important. We're in Paris City Hall, and here, once again, we're in the Arcades room, because we've had discussions in two major halls. Annie Hidalgo and Michael Bloomberg have invited us here. Before moving on to the third and last act of our afternoon, we're going to be welcoming two performers who created a film called Tomorrow, Demain, and we're going to be listening to the producers and directors. But first, we're going to be listening to a brief extract from this radio news. We heard that the human race could be destroyed.
Growth are leading us to a tipping point.
About 3 years ago, Cyril came to me when I was pregnant and told me about this study. It said that my son would grow up in a world where food, water, and oil will be hard to find.
I was running a non-profit when we met. How could we tell people about what we'd heard when they're already fed up with catastrophes? And how could we tell millions of people?
We had to do something. So we traveled around the globe, looking for the men and women who are offering creative alternatives.
It's always so hard.
We didn't start with, shall we save the planet? Because that was too grand. We just start with where we are.
There is no perfect democracy or economic models, but what seemed to emerge from our journey was a new vision for the world, where each community is more autonomous, therefore more free.
En faisant tout à la main sur un tout petit territoire, on peut produire autant qu'avec un
by hand. We can produce as much as with a tractor with 10 times more land.
Story. They're saying it's not too late, but we have to get moving now.
Now we vote, we govern.
Start looking around, you will get it all. The open, all the sign.
There are solutions, and if we give it everything we've got, if we all join our forces and hearts, we can all start to change the world tomorrow.
In Totnes, we have a £21 note. Kind of 21 because you can. Why not?
Voilà, c'est donc un extrait, la bande-annonce de ce très très beau film.
So that's the trailer from Demain trailer, and we're going to be welcoming the two directors, Melanie and Cyril. Have a seat here, both of you. Now, first.
I would like to ask you, where did you get the idea to make this film?
I directed in a non-governmental organization for several years, and we discussed climate change, and we heard about disasters, and that didn't energize people. It wasn't enough to allow people to set up a movement to create a new society. What we wanted to do is create a film with a positive, inspiring image of the future, with people who have already found most of the solutions required to solve our problems worldwide. Melanie, please try to explain how.
We know that you've been all over the world in order to understand how people live, people who are like us and people who are completely different, because you really wanted to understand the problem about the environment and the protection of nature. Well, first of all, we carried out a study, and we realized that if we do nothing, then something like 85 years hence, 80% of humanity could disappear. So if in the next 20, 25 years we don't act seriously, then we are going to face a catastrophe. So this might be utopistic, but what we wanted to do is something that is based on what we have seen, and whatever is local will work much better. And then the mayors who are right there, close to other citizens, will achieve great things. So here we have a lot of mayors together, and this is why we would like to draw on their experience, the wealth of experience. And there are a lot of children in this film as well. What did the young people say about it?
Well, we filmed in some 50 towns. We saw lots of high school students who said that this gives them hope. Many of them want to be involved in trades, occupations that help to solve problems. They're not just looking for social success, earning lots of money and having a good job. They want a meaningful life.
Melanie, I suppose that you also talk to children, or your children. Do you have the feeling that in your day-to-day life you're doing something, or you can do something for the environment, for the planet, even small things? Oh, yes. Absolutely. I mean, for 2 years we've been working on this project, so we have the feeling that we really know everything, and it is important. But we have both changed. At the outset, it seemed pretty complicated, but in fact, we stopped eating meat. That was one step, and this was a result of the project you're working on?
Yes, indeed. This is a way of walking our talk. You know, it's good to talk, but then we had to move forward. We saw that breeding accounts for 18% of global warming. There's terrible mistreatment of animals, and you have to be true to your beliefs.
So obviously, being here, Melanie and Cyril, is important to you with all the heads of state. So do you set a lot of hope on this meeting? Oh, yes. We are convinced that it will not be a failure like the Copenhagen Convention, and I have the feeling that this will draw on a citizens' movement which will help us, and they will work hand in hand with the leaders, not against.
I'm very happy to be here in Paris City Hall with mayors, and in our documentary, the mayor of Copenhagen said that cities might be the world's leaders. Where nation-states had failed, cities might succeed in undertaking transformations that nations were unable to do because of their constraints. So just go ahead. You're all mayors, be world leaders and help change the world.
And I suppose that's precisely why they're here, and they're going to convey your message. Thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you so much, Cyril. And it will be in movie houses tomorrow.
Alors voilà, nous sommes donc à l'aube de ce troisième.
So we're going to move move to the third part of our talk. We've discussed what it was essential for cities. We discussed what cities have already done to be more resilient. And now we're going to discuss funding, finance, and solidarity. How can environmental projects be funded? How can northern countries help southern countries? How can we help countries which are poorer than we are when we're a developing country? This is what we're going to look at now with these trailers.
The cost of inaction is truly great, and there's no better CEO than Paul Polman, the CEO of Unilever, that understands this. Paul has been a leader through his years at Unilever. He's thought about sustainability, he's thought about changing packaging, and when you look at how many things we actually consume, I'd like to welcome Paul Polman on the stage to really go through some of the innovations that Unilever is doing. And we welcome Paul with a great round of applause. Every time I speak to the CEO and say, who is someone in the business community that could be your mentor, they mention Mr. Polman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mayor Bloomberg and Mayor Hidalgo, for making this obviously possible. It's a pleasure to be in Paris, but more importantly, it's a pleasure to address so many leaders in this beautiful setting. As you know, in business, which I run, a business that's in 190 countries, most of the things that really happen on the ground. And I think it's the same for you. It's at the local level that most of the things happen. In my opinion, we should not make any mistake. It's the combined commitments of the local actions of people like yourself that ultimately will deliver the shared goal that we're after to prevent runaway climate change. And that's why we're here this week. It won't happen without your leadership of people in the room, present here, your peers and colleagues around the world. It's leadership that understands, above anything else, that we need to focus on the common good, not on the special interest. It's leadership that understands that we need transformational change, not just incremental gestures. It's leadership that understands that we need to plan and run our business for the long term and not be captive to the increasingly short-term pressures. It's leadership that understands that only by working together in partnership can we achieve all of the above. Over the last years, I had the pleasure to be part of an extraordinary committee, an extraordinary group of leaders, which is called the Global Commission on Climate and Economy. It was chaired by former President Calderon from Mexico, with commissioners such as Eduardo Paez, the mayor of Rio, of Nick Stern, of Trevor Manuel and many others. Our work that we did in the Commission helped drive home an important point, that we actually can achieve high quality growth and at the same time low carbon growth. In fact, the Commission points out that if we don't attack the climate change, we will not have the economic growth and job creation. Especially true, increasingly so, as we move forward. Increasingly it is clear to us as business people that the cost of inaction is starting to exceed the cost of action. This is particularly true when it goes to cities, something that I know is close to your heart. Housing, transport, energy systems, obviously major users of carbon that needs to change. And the mayors and obviously governors in this room appreciate that well. But it's also true for something we don't talk enough, which is the protection of our remaining forests and landscapes. In fact, stopping forest destruction is one of the easiest and most cost-efficient things to prevent catastrophic climate change. Now, sadly, the drains of deforestation is still alarming. It accounts for about 15% of global emissions, and that excludes all the cost of food waste or agricultural production, where still a lot needs to be done as well. Large-scale deforestation can be prevented, whilst at the same time increasing food production through better and smarter agriculture and by improving yields as well as income of the smallholder farmers, something that's absolutely crucial if we want to continue to provide jobs and livelihoods for everybody in this world and create a more inclusive growth. We call this produce and protect schemes. It is indeed pro-people, it is pro-development, and it is a pro-forest approach. And this public-private partnership is working. It represents a tremendous opportunity for the local and regional actors, and it requires, frankly, your leadership above all. We are seeing that many professional leaders, like Alexander Nordin, who will be speaking after me, he's the governor of South Sumatra, are stepping up to put in place the kind of policies and commitments that will help deliver this economic opportunity without additional deforestation. And yes, businesses are stepping up too. 400 companies of the Global Consumer Goods Forum have committed to eliminate deforestation from their commodity supply chain by 2020. The same is done by the members of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development with their forest restoration work. I just returned yesterday from a visit to Indonesia, where we opened a new palm oil facility, working in partnership with the local government, in this case in North Sumatra, to show them that we can engage the local community, in this case 23,000 smallholder farmers, and at the same time provide sustainable production. But it is clear to me and many others that we need to do more. Last Tuesday here in Paris, we announced that Unilever and many other companies will put our money where our mouth is by supporting those local leaders who are doing the right thing by preferentially sourcing our commodities from their jurisdictions. Getting this approach into the mainstream indeed requires hard work and leadership in every sector. But it's that leadership that I know is in great supply in this room, and why I wanted so much to join you today to share the outline of this opportunity and invite you to engage in making this a reality. We need to remember, and I certainly am, that first and foremost, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm actually a husband as well, before I am a CEO. We are citizens of this planet first and foremost. And if we really fully understand that before putting other labels on us, then I think we're working on true leadership. Thank you for your leadership and what you're doing, and I wish you good luck on the journey to a decarbonized future for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul Pullman there, the CEO of Unilever, talking about forests. And he actually mentioned you, sir, the governor of South Sumatra, Indonesia, Alex Nordin. Can you just tell us a little bit, Paul was talking there about forests, and can you talk to us about the conservation plans that you've put in place?
We have another approaching for, we call it sustainable landscape developments, including the private partnership and also the companies. We have the same interest here. We want to create the, as I said before, the sustainable landscape development, and also the companies want to increase the productivity in such a sustainable way. So, and also the smallholders want to make happy in his family. So I'm from South Sumatra. We're very proud to be here and share our experience in sustainable landscape development.
Governor, thank you. When you look also at the crossover between governors and cities, you're working closely together with mayors. Can we go a step further?
Yes, of course. As the governor, I am the representative from the central governments, And we have to cooperation with all the mayor in our province, and also the district and also the village. So I have to coordinate this in such a sustainable way, as I said before. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor. Thank you. I wanted to get a little bit of a different perspective, because we talk about forests, and I want to go over to the governing mayor of Berlin, because of course you have a low emissions zone in Berlin. What kind of challenges did you have in implementing this?
Ja, es ist schon so, dass es erstmal wichtig war, Akzeptanz für diese Maßnahme auch zu haben und Unterstützung für all das.
It's very important to lower carbon emission, and we absolutely need the best possible technology. And we want viable cities. We want people to be able to enjoy every single neighborhood in Berlin, and that's why we want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions due to transportation, and this is why we ban highly polluting cars from the center. But it is not enough to point fingers at others. We have to commit.
We see a lot of passion. We see, of course, a lot of commitments and calls for action. I would like to welcome on the stage Mr. Al Gore. He's, of course, one of the most...
urging us to work. And now I'd like to welcome Al Gore.
Reality project. Mr. Gore, what a pleasure to have you here on stage.
Thank you.
You started this before it was fashionable.
Well, I'm not sure I can take that much credit, but it's an honor to be here. And with all of us, I want to thank Mayor Hidalgo for hosting us, and former Mayor Bloomberg, who's now a special representative at the UN, for co-hosting us. And we all still feel very deeply and express our condolences to the city of Paris. But I'm filled with hope and optimism in hearing all of these wonderful success stories.
Why are you optimistic that we can tackle this?
We not only can, we will win this struggle. People who believe that we don't have the political will to achieve victory forget that political will is itself a renewable resource. We are now seeing the development of new technologies for production of electricity from solar energy and wind energy. You know what percentage has been built this year of new electricity generation in the U.S. from solar and wind? 78%. Worldwide, more than half. And we're seeing improvements in battery storage and new efficiency technologies of all kinds. And we're seeing the investor community and the business community. Paul Pullman is a fantastic example of leadership that inspires us to see what can be done by investors and business leaders, and they are doing it. Their customers are demanding it. They themselves see the opportunity to improve profitability and recruitment and retention. Their employees love it. So this is a big, big shift. There was an American poet in the last century, Wallace Stevens, who was a businessman before he became a poet, and he wrote this line: "After the last no comes a yes, and on that yes, the future world depends." We've had many conferences on the climate. This one is different. We've seen the last no. We are on the cusp of a yes. We are moving to a future world that is sustainable and prosperous and just and equitable.
Why are we still using fossil fuels?
I'm sorry?
Why are we still using fossil fuels?
Well, for 150 years, fossil fuels have been a major part of building up global civilization. And it has been relatively recently that people have become aware that it's insane to put 110 million tons of global warming pollution every day into the atmosphere as if it's an open sewer. The cumulative amount is now trapping as much extra heat energy as would be released by 400,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every day. It's a big planet, but that's a lot of energy, and it's causing all the climate-related extreme weather events and all the consequences you've heard. But we're still using fossil fuels because we have grown to be dependent upon them, and it takes time to make the transition. There are those who have tried to slow down this transition, but they are now beginning to be called out, and most significant of all, the cost of electricity from renewable sources is in many regions around the world beginning to be cheaper than electricity from coal and gas. And the transportation sector, so important for oil markets, is now just beginning to be electrified. So the difference between new sources of electricity being cheaper than fossil sources and being more expensive than is like the difference between 0 degrees and 1 degree. It's not just 1 degree, it's the difference between ice and water. And in markets, when it falls below the line of cheaper than, then there is an explosion of new investment and interest. A great economist, the late Rudy Dornbush, once said, "Things take longer to happen than you think they will, but then they happen much faster than you ever imagined they could." That is the point we are at right now. It has taken time, but now the change is bursting out.
There is also an extremely important
Are you okay?
Yes.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on, you'll be fine. Hold on. There we go, okay.
Stéphane? It's okay.
Et donc ce sont des choses très concrètes qui nécessitent évidemment des investissements financiers.
Concrete things that require major investment, so we're using budgets that we're investing today, but they're going to pay off tomorrow, because in future it will cost less for the community and for citizens.
So the funding comes through the Development Bank of South Africa, and as a province and our municipalities, we facilitate municipalities on a provincial level to access that funding from a national level.
We have a partnership called the Better Building Partnership, which is with the owners of over 50% of commercial properties in the global city. They've signed up to our goals for 2030, reducing emissions by 70%. And just in the last 3 years, they have reduced their emissions by 45%, and they're saving $36 million.
Voilà, c'était donc les témoignages d'autres maires, aussi d'un ministre.
Here we listened to other mayors and to a Minister of Finance. That was exciting. Now we're going to move on to the third and last discussion round panel this afternoon. So I'm going to call up the speakers. So, Ariane, and we're going to be introducing them. Now, as you know, we're going to be discussing finance, because obviously these projects require financing. We're going to discuss solidarity. Solidarity between rich and poor countries, between North and South, between South and other Southern countries. So, to provide insight, first, Pierre Moscovici, who is the European Commissioner for Economic Affairs, Miguel Angel Serra, Mayor of Mexico City. We have Mungo Pactau, the Mayor of Johannesburg, South Africa, and Ariane de Rothschild, who's Vice President of Edmond de Rothschild Holding. Now, Pierre Moscovici, you're the European Commissioner for Economic Affairs in the EU. We're discussing investment and the need for solidarity. Can something be done in fighting climate change for the southern countries? Can Europe do something? Can Europe devote part of its money, given that it has so much to finance in other areas, but can Europe fund help for poor countries? This is already being done. I've just come from the Le Bourget site for COP21, and the key issue is financing. That's going to be the key point in the negotiations. You have to help developing countries to finance infrastructures to fight against rising water levels and diminishing agricultural yields. So we have to help the economy to decarbonate, to reduce carbon. So we have to find $100 billion per year starting in 2020. And here the EU is by far the leading contributor in climate finance. We've already contributed 14.5 billion euros in 2014. The European Union is devoting 20% of its environmental budget from 2014 to 2020. The money goes to the environmental issues. We have a fund to improve energy efficiency in urban areas. We're working on interconnections for transportation, a major 215 billion investment program. One of the key priorities is energy and the energy transition. So we are leaders in this area by far. We want to continue to be in the lead. The European Union is using its budget despite constraints, and the member states are continuing to contribute. And at COP21, I hope that at the end we will have a binding, ambitious commitment with a mechanism to show how we're going to move forward with periodical audits, we hope. Now, thank you very much. Now, we're going to be listening regarding solidarity and financing, the questions which citizens have been asking.
Opportunities to align capitalism with climate action.
I would like to ask, why don't we invest more in green energy like solar power, wind power, and electrical vehicles? It seems like an obvious choice.
I already paid too many taxes. Am I going to have to pay more?
Voilà. Est-ce que je paye déjà beaucoup d'impôts? Est-ce que je vais payer plus?
Pay lots of taxes in tax. Am I going to pay even more? We're going to look at this with the mayors of Mexico City and Johannesburg. But first, Ariane de Rothschild, you're vice president of a major bank. What can private companies do in this area to defend the environment? Well, indeed, we've been working with public-private partnerships for a decade. It's very important to explain the mechanism. This involves simplifying this transfers risk from the public sector to the private sector. So this is de-risking. It's very important for us. This helps to make projects financially viable because as funders, we have to find the right balance between public funding, for instance, from the European Union or cities, and we have to contribute private funding as well. One of the challenges is that quite often these are very long-term projects with very long-term funding. This is our role when we can bring in people who are interested in investing in investment funds over 10 to 15-year periods. Well, could you give me some idea of the portion of these projects as a percentage of your total lending or portfolio? Well, this has to be addressed in different areas. Regarding conventional asset management, like many banks, we have socially responsible and environmentally responsible rules. We have greater operations in private equity. This is direct investment in environmental projects. This can involve energy efficiency, depollution, decontamination of soil or forests. Now, let's look at the concrete life in cities. Miguel Angel Montserrat, you're the mayor of Mexico City. We heard one citizen saying we have too much in taxes. Are we going to have to pay more for taxes? How do you manage to allocate your expenditures as mayor of Mexico City between what's absolutely necessary to keep things going and expenditure for the environment? Yes, thank you. But first of all, I would like to thank Annie Hidalgo for the invitation. We would also like to express our solidarity with the city of Paris. Mexico City has a budget of 175 million, and 10% of the billion, and 10% is devoted to the environment. We don't think that's enough. Now, what's the basic issue for cities? The basic issue is that it's very hard for us to access international finance. There's a great deal of bureaucracy involved with this. These are highly integrated financial financial structures. It's very challenging to get access to that funding, and the new technologies we're discussing can be expensive. Replacing public transportation, conventional public transportation, by green transportation is very expensive. A diesel taxi costs 4 times less than an electric or hybrid taxi. So we need greater flexibility in guarantees for funding, because as we say in Washington, this is a matter of national security. It's not secondary. We had a meeting with the Secretary of State of the United States, and we discussed the fact that we have more and more pediatric respiratory disease because of pollution. We need a flexible form of funding in order to be able to access funds as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I believe that we need technology transfers to have more accessible technology in order to achieve our objectives. You're the mayor of Johannesburg. We heard about the difficulty in obtaining funding from the mayor of Mexico City. What do you do? How do you rely on outside funding to get funding for climate change and things like that?
Well, in our opinion, there are 2 ways in which we have to look at the issue. In the first instance, we thought that it would be important in the city of Johannesburg to mobilize the local debt capital market as participants in financing long-term infrastructure, particularly in the climate change arena for local government, and listed green bond, the first green bond on the continent on the stock exchange, which was 150% oversubscribed, but that required us to work with the local stock exchange to mobilize the debt capital market to be able to participate, so that in fact it is not just a city initiative, it's a partnership between ourselves and the stock exchange that designs the bond and ensures that we're able to mobilize the private sector to participate, and we're quite excited that they participated. But the second level of the discussion is exactly the reason why here in Paris, isn't it? It is the reality that as developing country cities, we face the burden of poverty, the reality that our people are unable to continuously contribute to meeting our challenges. The population of Johannesburg increases by 120,000 people every year, and the reality is that the vast majority of those people are poor. So if we are to invest in climate change mitigation and adaptation, we need to ensure that there are flows that go into the developing world, that there's a regime that enables the developing world and developing country cities to access resources in the international system of financing for purposes of development, so that the agreement that's reached by our national leaders in the United Nations system needs to be cognizant of that reality. We can demonstrate our commitment through the investments that we're making, but the reality is that we would need further resources that need to be mobilized internationally.
Alors, on a besoin de plus de ressources. Pierre Moscovici, est-ce que...
Okay, Pierre Moscovici, at the end of the day, can we resolve this dilemma? Obviously, it's very complex because many countries are experiencing economic crises. Can we allow ourselves the luxury of green growth? How can you harmonize economic development, which is essential in order to get the economy going again, and ecological concerns? Isn't there a contradiction in terms of some countries? No, I don't think that's really the case. First, I don't believe that we see a decline in growth. If you look at since 1990, we've reduced our emissions by 20%, and the economy has grown by 40%. I don't think there's any contradiction between growth and the environment. Second, let's look at cities. This is where 80% of humanity lives, and this is where we see actual changes in lifestyles and transportation. That's why we have to be so close to cities. This morning, on behalf of of the European Union and Michael Bloomberg, we signed an agreement which will allow for exchanges of information. That's essential. We'll be able to benchmark, to have metrics, and then we'll be able to have systems of support. And third, if you look at finance, we see that the budgets are under constraint everywhere. But I don't think that you should see an opposition between private and public. Look at the Juncker plan. It's 315 billion euros. It's not all infrastructure. It's no public investment. This is as much private funding as possible and public funding when required. We'll have to see to it that we have the right levers, including the European Investment Bank. So when you look at the recourse to the market, you have to mix everything, including finance. If you just count on government, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you count only on the private sector, we're not going to do as much as we should. We need incentives to fund investments, which, as the mayor of Mexico City said, are long-term affairs. Here in Greece, thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to interrupt these. We've had such exciting discussions today. Now we have to listen to Nicolas Hulot and the last speakers. Let me reassure everyone, Francine is fine. She just fainted a bit, and we'll see her in a few minutes. But we're going to go to the other room, and we're going to see French journalist and ecologist Nicolas Hulot.
Monsieur le Secrétaire Général,
Mr. Secretary General, Mr. President of COP21, ladies and gentlemen, mayors, I'm going to be extremely brief. Your time is valuable. You'll remember we heard a moment ago the word solidarity. In actual fact, behind the word solidarity, we see all the keys to the success of COP21 and the successful conclusion to all the crises we are experiencing. And as soon as solidarity becomes a reality, we will have moved to that point. The 21st century will be solidarity in action, or the century will not allow us to survive. And as you know, solidarity is the cornerstone for human dignity, and climate change is a matter of injustice because it affects men, women, and children who are extremely vulnerable. The climate challenge has to be addressed. If the richest countries can't do what they must do, we'll see an explosion in extreme poverty. And no one in a globalized, connected world can aspire to live in peace if extreme poverty enjoys explosive growth caused by the climate crisis. This is what we have to bear in mind. That's why we have to dwell on solidarity. At this point in the Paris conference, and here I'm speaking under advisement from Laurent Fabius, we can say that if the Paris conference hadn't occurred, we would have definitively lost the battle for the environment. Nevertheless, will we have won this combat for mankind? We will have gone part of the way, doubtless, and that's why your presence here is more than necessary. It's absolutely essential and vital, because if we take the commitments by national governments, which are already on the negotiating table, if we add the commitments by cities and regions, if there is a commitment for government contracting to be from low-carbon providers, you will have created new standards in forms of consumption and production. If you yourselves add to national governments' objectives regarding 100% renewable energy and low-carbon environment, we will have gone even further on the path. And let me add another thing regarding what national governments and cities can do. We tend to focus focus all of our efforts on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's important, and we're right in doing this. But we would be remiss if we did not try to continue to rehabilitate and protect ecosystems. If we accept, as occurred in 2014, if we accept that 20 million hectares of forest be destroyed each year, we will be totally incapable of achieving the climate objectives. Therefore, I believe that municipalities should also include restoration of ecosystems as part of their agenda. We bear the burden of something which should be an enthusiastic challenge for us. We have to write a new page in globalization, but we want globalization to no longer be seen as part of destruction and exploitation of nature and concentration of wealth. What we want is a new globalization based on protecting resources and the sharing of wealth. Thank you very much.
It's extremely hot in the room. We really need to fix climate change for all of our sake. I would like now to welcome to the stage Michael Bloomberg, founder, of course, of Bloomberg LP and UN Special Envoy for Climate Change and Cities, who has a couple of remarks. We've heard a lot of passionate speeches, a little bit of drama. Mr. Bloomberg.
Well, we're glad you're back, Christine. She is one of our stars, and people are going to say we're overworking her. But I always give the next tough job to the most overworked person in the company. There's a reason why they're overworked. Anyways, Francine, thank you and good evening. And today we've heard from many mayors and local leaders from both north, south, east, and west, from cities big and small, from regions and provinces and states. And I think it's fair to say all of us agree. Cities lie at the center of the climate change challenge, and cities lie at the center of the solution as well. Yes, we need central governments to come to an ambitious agreement, but that agreement will only succeed if it empowers all of you to do more. In talking with mayors from around the world, I've heard many express the same frustrations with central governments. I've heard mayors say, we need greater flexibility to manage our infrastructure. We need greater access to global credit markets. We need greater freedom from regulations that stifle new technology. We need energy subsidies to be redirected from coal and other dirty burning fuel sources to solar, wind, and to gas. And we need a seat at the table when it comes to planning national policies that relate to energy and climate change. And I think you're right about all of those points. And you're also right that if central governments were to meet those needs, then cities can help them meet and even exceed the national goals that they should commit to here in Paris. So how do we convince central governments to act? We lead by example. We show them how much we can accomplish on our own and in partnership with the private sector. And that was really the genius of Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations. He came to me and he said, it's cities that are doing things, and you can help federal governments by being a good example. Not necessarily by shaming them into doing something, but something very close to that. If cities can do it, then national governments can do it. But there's one more thing that we have to do. We must continue building this community of mayors and local leaders so that it grows larger and stronger year by year. Never before have cities had such influence on climate negotiations, but today is only the beginning. Whatever agreement central governments might strike next week, the emission pledges won't really kick in until the year 2020. That gives us 5 years to show central governments how much more ambitious the commitments that they are making here in Paris should have been, and that will give them confidence in 2020 to set the bar much higher. How do we do that? It's not complicated. Continual collaboration and coalition building. Heads of state meet every 5 years or so for formal negotiating conferences on climate. City leaders are in constant communication with one another. and they're far more nimble in cooperating across national borders. The larger and more active our community of local leaders is, the more progress we will make and the more influential we will become. For instance, in just 1 year, more than 400 cities have now signed on to the Compact of Mayors, which can be a model for COP21. Compact cities now represent 5% of the world's people and more than 5% of the world's carbon emissions. Commitments those cities have already made through the Compact to reduce emissions will put us more than halfway to what cities globally can achieve before 2020. And by signing on to the Compact, each city commits to 3 major ideas. And these ideas really are unique in government. First, we want to set bold goals, goals that people can understand and measure. Second, adopting common measurements so we can compare one city to another. And third, publicly reporting progress so that citizens can hold governments accountable for results. If cities can agree to these 3 principles, why can't federal governments, why can't nations do exactly that? If the public knew how they stood compared to other places, they would demand action, and they would demand it in real time, and they would get it. Now, I hope all of you city leaders in every room in this great building will commit to signing the Compact of Mayors. And when you return home, I hope you will urge other cities in your home countries to join you as well. There is no better ways to demonstrate your commitment to this issue than by joining with other cities who are not only making pledges, but also uniquely holding themselves accountable for fulfilling them. That's what good government is about. That's what leading from the front rather than leading from the back is about. You were not elected to ask the public where they want to go. You were elected to have a vision of what is right for the people you serve and then convince them to follow you to a better life. So today, I would like to issue a challenge. Over the course of the next year, let us build this community of local leaders by substantially increasing the number of cities that sign on to the Compact. It is the best insurance we have against backsliding by central governments. And it's the best hope we have for accelerating the pace of change in every region of the world over the next 5 years. I first came to this issue because of its implications for public health. A mayor's first responsibility, just like a president's or a prime minister, is to protect the people they serve from harm. Today, no elected leader at any level of government can fulfill that responsibility without mounting a full frontal assault on climate change. And that's why so many cities have already signed on to the Compact of Mayors. And if you haven't done so yet, here's a short video that will explain more about it, and I hope you sign on today. Let me tell you, it will put a smile on your face before you turn off the light in the bathroom tonight that you've done the right thing, the reason you were elected, and that you can go back and look at your families and say, today, I did what was right. It may not be easy politically, but I stood up for you, my family, and for you, the people that I serve. So thank you, keep up the great work, and let's watch the film.
The earth was here before us and was given to us.
Every country makes commitments to make this world better. The cities are where really we deliver results.
Cities and local governments are the actual implementers which transform thinking into action.
Saving our planet, lifting people out of poverty, advancing economic growth. These are one and the same fight.
Back in September of 2014, Bloomberg Philanthropies launched the Compact of Mayors with the United Nations.
Compact, noun. An agreement between two or more people, organizations, or countries. Compact of Mayors, noun. An alliance of local leaders. A common platform to capture cities' collective actions against climate change.
Initiatives like the Compact of Mayors are helping cities fulfill concrete climate goals and share their lessons.
Uygulamaya geçmemiz gerekiyor. Belediye başkanları sözleşmesinden son derece ümitliyim.
I call upon you to contribute to the success of the negotiation, and especially to the life of the planet for which you are now responsible.
I have a saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And that's one of the things that the Compact does.
We must walk the walk. We must ensure climate justice.
I urge more cities around the world to join the Compact of Mayors.
We are committed to the Compact of Mayors.
Paris s'engage pour la COP.
London is committed to the Compact of Mayors. Committed to the Compact of Mayors.
I am committed to the Compact of Mayors.
I am committed to the Compact of Mayors.
I am committed to the Compact. I am committed.
What kind of world do we want to leave those who come after us? To children who are now growing up.
When I grow up, I want to become a doctor. I want to be a nurse. Indian Air Force fighter pilot. Veterinario. A magic magician, a fun daddy, and a tennis player. 空中小姐. I want to be like Mr. Bean, like be funny. Today I'm lucky that I have mangoes, guavas, apples, but I don't think so after 15 or 50 years we will have these things. We will not be able to go to the beach. The air, I think, will get hotter.
We can't just keep ignoring it. This is our world. We're damaging it.
If it is too hot, then I will fan myself all the time. And doing this all the time, my hand will become very tired. My dream is to keep the environment clean and not cutting the trees. No quiero un mundo con aire sucio. I wish it could be not hot. 我们怎么样才可以有一个干净的环境、好的气候生活呢？We can use compressed natural gas cars rather than using petrol or diesel cars.
Yeah, maybe we have to use more money on solar panels.
Take the subway instead of taking a car.
To save the environment, I will plant more trees. 我觉得应该是不乱丢垃圾，要环保。We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if we can help each other, that will really help.
Estimados señores, estimadas señoras, buenos días. Me llamo Rim, soy mitad marroquí, mitad española.
I'm Rim. I'm from India. And I come from Morocco and Spain, and I come from Senegal.
Meu nome é Laura e eu sou brasileira.
Je m'appelle Salvatore, j'habite à Paris et je suis ici avec des membres du Conseil
I live in Paris, and work with the members of the Youth Council in Paris. We listened to you with a great deal of attention. Today, December the 4th, 2015, the cities of the entire world met here together, and climate change concerns all of us.
நன்றி தெரிவிக்கிறோம். And we want to thank you for the work you've done and for your invitation.
Dans quelques minutes, vous allez adopter la Déclaration de Paris, un texte qui vous engage.
Want to adopt the Paris Declaration, but we are committed to this, all of us. We're all engaged. We want to build a new world.
ñun ndaw ñi ngeen ko bind ndax àddina bi ñuy séentu ñu nit am nañ wàll ci tabax ko.
Don't forget that we are directly concerned by the decisions that will be made during the COP21.
We, young people from all over the world, will not be spectators of these decisions. We are full partners in them.
Nous les sommes tous les jours en portant les valeurs.
Every single day, we feel a sense of solidarity.
But we are also seeing you as those who, in a few years, will hand over the torch to us.
Nous savons que nos actions futures dépendront des engagements.
We know that our future actions will depend on the commitments that you may or may not undertake. If our planet is not fully released from the dangers of climate change, we're going to have to move forward. We're going to quote Gunther Anders, who said, "Life isn't just a matter of survival." So for these young people, we need a future. We still have the future ahead of us. And therefore, we would like that future to be created here, because that's going to be our future. We have to capture the future. We have to work, and the future has to be our present.
Tomorrow, you'll need us.
Faites confiance à la jeunesse. Nous avons l'imagination.
Trust young people. We have imagination, intelligence, energy, and determination. Today, we need you, but tomorrow, you'll need us. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup à tous. C'était des étudiants.
Thank you all. Now, you just heard students from the International University City in Paris, and they come from all 6 continents, and they've explained the world they hope to see tomorrow. Now, we're reaching the end of our proceedings, and to wrap up, I'm going to ask Michael Bloomberg and Anne Hidalgo to join us, and to wrap up, they're going to be accompanied by 4 major mayors of major cities, Kader Topas, Eduardo Paes, Pak Won-soon, and Khalifa Sol. So would you please join us here?
Khalifa Sall. Merci, Anne.
Khalifa Sall.
Thank you.
Let me thank, on behalf of all of us, the young people who spoke. By taking the lead, I know our future is in good hands. Those are the people who we have a responsibility to lead a better world for, and I think we're up to it. The rest of us here today will do all we can to give you young people the opportunities you deserve and a safe planet where your dreams can take root. And I want to again thank Mayor Anne Hidalgo for her leadership and hard work, especially over the past few weeks. I also want to thank the city networks that have partnered with us to make this summit possible, working together through the Compact of Mayors to assure city efforts are recognized globally. It's great to be joined on stage by leaders from those networks, again, to bring the day's work full cycle, particularly Mayor Paes, who has run C40 and provided great leadership for all of us. Most of all, I want to thank all of you who've traveled from near and far to be with us today. We are more united than ever before in this fight, so let's keep moving forward in the spirit of partnership. Let's continue learning from one another. The more we work together, the faster we'll make progress. And that's true not only on climate change, but of all the big challenges facing our world. There is reason to be optimistic because mayors and local leaders recognize the power of collaboration, and this spirit of partnership is flourishing. With each collaboration between states and regions, with every city that signs the Compact of Mayors and makes data-driven commitments, we're sending a message to the nations gathered here in Paris. Set high goals, we'll help you achieve them, and show you how to reach even higher. Empower us to do more, and we will. And just by being here, all of you have helped send this message. You've already made invaluable contributions to the UN Summit, and those contributions will help shape the course of the world's future for the young people we just heard from, for their children, and for all the generations to come. That work doesn't end today. It's still beginning, and I look forward to working together with you in the months and years to come. Mayor Hidalgo?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Michael. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. Let me tell you that, like when you see the room today with the Secretary General of the UN, when we have Laurent Fabius, President of COP21, when we see all of my colleagues and friends, mayors who've come from the entire world, and with young people who've just told us about their aspirations and their demands relative to what we're going to propose to them. I believe that this image is something I'm going to keep forever, and I think this is true for all of us. We are experiencing a historic moment. This is a major point. I think it's been successful because Michael Bloomberg, my friend, you've trusted us, and you've also contributed your energy to make this possible. And I'd also like to say to my fellow mayors represented here by the presidents or secretaries general of the global networks of mayors. If you hadn't answered the call, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. So from the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank you. Say thank you. Thank you for believing in this initiative. And united, we are stronger.
Nous avons travaillé tout au long de la journée.
We've worked all day long with one objective. We wanted to establish the bases for a statement with the Compact of Mayors. This is a declaration that we are going to submit as a commitment and a source of encouragement, and perhaps as a demand to the negotiators in Le Bourget, so that the climate conference will be concluded with an agreement. I know that Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Laurent Fabius, and the President of the French Republic are doing their utmost to achieve this agreement. Our contribution is simple. It involves first the commitment by mayors to go beyond the commitments that will be taken by the national governments. Also, a commitment by mayors to continue to work, because we are moving toward 100% green energies, or as we seek to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we know that this is primarily emitted in our cities. These are concrete commitments we are making. And let me say that the contribution of cities to what we hope will be the Paris Climate Agreement will help us to cover half the path. Cities, through our commitment, cities and local authorities, through our commitments, through our actions, will allow us to cover half the ground. We're going to cover half of the ground in this direction through our concrete commitments, because mayors have to think and be forward-looking. You can't manage manage cities and metropolitan areas unless we have a vision. And we have a vision when we listen to our citizens and when we listen to and work with young people and their aspiration for a better life. Obviously, we have this vision, but another strength of mayors is that we combine this vision with concrete actions. We don't have to wait for anyone's authorization to take action. We have been acting for quite some time because we are convinced of this, and the sum of our actions will help us to make progress. We can reduce by 3.7 gigaton our emission of greenhouse gases. Now, if you look at other metrics, what is 3.7 gigatons equivalent to? This is equivalent to 5 years of aircraft emission, or 1 year's greenhouse gas emissions from the entire European Union. You see, this is a major effort. It's also a very healthy and necessary effort. I would like to say thank you. I know that in a moment I'm going to ask for your acclamation, for your approval of the declaration that we will convey with a delegation with Michael Bloomberg and a delegation of mayors. We'll be going tomorrow to submit this to the negotiators. The young people here today, young people who remain to be born, have realize you've told us that we have a major obligation. Your aspirations and your desires should be and indeed are our roadmap. So we are taking this solemn commitment, and you are witnesses of that. Thank you.
Chers amis, je vais vous demander, par acclamation, d'approuver la déclaration de Paris.
To approve the Paris Declaration.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say a few words. I hope you will take seat. The Honorable Anne Hidalgo, Mayor of Paris, Honorable Michael Bloomberg, Special Envoy of the United Nations, Secretary General on Cities and Climate Change, Your Excellency Minister Laurent Fabius, and President of COP21, distinguished local leaders, mayors, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Bonsoir. Je suis très heureux d'être avec vous.
I'm delighted to be here with you this evening. So thank you very much for your commitment.
Tout d'abord, je voudrais
So first of all, let me express my sincerest thanks. I'd like to thank the mayors, Anne Hidalgo and Mr. Michael Bloomberg, for have sponsored this summit with friends from the entire earth to help us with the struggle against climate change. I would also like to seize this opportunity to express my thanks and to salute the leadership shown by President Hollande and also by His Excellency Laurent Fabius as President of the COP21. I am convinced that without the impetus provided by President Hollande and the President of COP21, our negotiators, our ministers, with this, I trust that they will be able to adopt a universal agreement. So, as your Secretary General, I am here to show our solidarity, and I am ready to work in close cooperation with all the member states. So, thank you very much for your commitment. Thank you.
Over.
Mesdames et messieurs, si vous le permettez.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, please let me continue in English now.
First of all, let me express my solidarity with the people of Paris. Last month, the brutal terrorist attacks are appalling crimes against humanity, against a city and nation known for tolerance and civilization. They only serve to deepen our resolve to build a safer, more equitable and sustainable future. This is a future in which we also live in harmony with our natural environment. And that is why we must do all we can to minimize the changes to our climate that are causing instability and grave harm to people around the world. We are here tonight to celebrate the tremendous leadership of mayors and local leaders from all regions who are taking bold steps to build climate-friendly, resilient cities and provinces. I highly commend your leadership. I have been participating in many conferences and moving scenes, but the way you have shown this evening, the leadership and strong commitment to save this planet Earth for our succeeding generations and to make our own lives more prosperous and healthier for our succeeding generation. That's unforgettably moving commitment. And I thank you very much. Merci beaucoup de votre engagement.
Merci, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général.
Thank you, Secretary General.
Enable your citizens to reduce their carbon footprint, breathe cleaner air, and live more healthy lives. Here in Paris, the world's governments are meeting to adopt an ambitious, meaningful global climate change agreement. You are essential to this effort. The commitments made here will be implemented in the provinces, regions, states, and cities that you lead. But most importantly, I'd like to make sure that the negotiators and ministers have heard and have seen what and how much you are committed today. You know from the ground up how important it is to translate words into action. Your example can inspire national governments to act more boldly. Since my climate summit last year in New York, you have formed a remarkable number of alliances that are accelerating and scaling up climate commitments. They include the Mayors Compact of Mayors, which you have adopted, the Covenant of Mayors, the Compact of States and Regions, and under 2 MOU, the Cities Climate Finance Leadership Alliance and the Carbon Neutral Cities Alliance. I am pleased to receive this summit declaration, which commits local authorities to reduce emissions, scale up plans to protect your cities, regions, and citizens from climate impacts, and support the global transition to clean energy. Recognizing all that you have achieved and desiring to keep the momentum, I'll be announcing tomorrow a Climate Action 2016 Summit. I expect local leaders to play a central role, and I thank Mayor Hidalgo and Mayor Bloomberg, the United Nations Special Envoy, for their leadership in this endeavor. Here in Paris, you have deepened your commitment to expand partnerships to climate action. You are taking your leadership to a new level of cooperation and innovation. I commend your initiative and encourage you to go still further. Ask your fellow local leaders to do the same. Spread this message to your colleagues. Your leadership and commitments will be even more important in 2016. You are the ones who will help turn this global agreement into reality on the ground. Here in this great city of light, I urge you to continue to shine a light on a more sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, let us work together to make this world better for all and friendly to our planet Earth. I count on your strong leadership and engagement. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Now, Laurent Fabius is going to have the honor of concluding our discussions, but I'm going to ask all 14 representatives of the mayors' networks who are going to be presenting the Mayor's Compact. I'm going to the convention. We had 4 a few moments ago, but we need all 14. All of the networks have to be represented here, especially the European networks. There should be 14 of you. And let me clarify something. At the end of this session, shuttle buses will be available at 7:30, 1930 hours, to go to Place de la République if you wish to pause a moment, the site of the terrorist attacks at Place de la République. There will be shuttle buses leaving at 7:30 p.m. Your respects to the victims.
Mr. Fabius, good to see you. I'm sorry that Arnold couldn't be in the middle tomorrow. But we'll be speaking to you tomorrow, I think. Today, for you, here are the reports that you asked us to finance and scale them up. So we wanted to make sure you have those. Thank you so much.
Bien, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général.
Mr. Secretary General of the United Nations,
Madame le Maire Hidalgo.
Madam Hidalgo, Mayor of Paris, and dear friend Michael Bloomberg, and ladies and gentlemen, mayors. Now, when I see this room, I see that I could be brief. So, until last week, I was a resident of Paris, and for the past week or so, I've been living in Le Bourget, and it's a pleasure for me to come back to Paris for a few moments. And I'd like to say two things. I was a mayor for a number of years. I was the president of a region and a conurbation as well. So I can see, to what extent you, as mayors, play a decisive role in the action against climate change. This is something you've discussed all day long regarding public transportation, urban development, waste, water, and a series of actions. So you, as mayors, to a very large extent, will win the combat against climate change. And quite simply, I wanted to express my thanks. Tomorrow, if I understand properly, I'm going to receive this statement, declaration, which is also a commitment. But what's clear is that you, as cities, represent a real-life laboratory for the green transformation. And you're doing this in a remarkable way. And I'd like to thank you and congratulate you for your work in this area. And a second and the last idea I would like to add. We shouldn't have, on the one hand, work by or actions by cities and private enterprise on the one hand, and action by national governments on the other hand. As Michael Bloomberg pointed out earlier, this should converge. But before Friday the 11th, we have to reach a universal agreement on the climate. Things began quite well, in fact, exceptionally. Last Monday, we had in Paris a meeting of the greatest number of heads of state and government ever to assemble in the same place on the same date on a single topic. And the topic was the climate. Ban Ki-moon spoke. He played a decisive role as a speaker. All the heads of state and government said, go ahead. We need an agreement. The negotiators began their work, and I have to say, well, I'm supposed to be a diplomat here, so I have to be very careful about the way I'm going to word this. Let's say there's still room for improvement. Tomorrow, Saturday, all the negotiators will submit to me as president of COP21 a document. I hope it's going to be shorter and better than the initial text. And then we'll have only 4 or 5 short days between ministers and leaders in order to iron out the final text. And we can't get it wrong. It's a combination of these initiatives by cities throughout the world, private companies, and also all the national governments of the planet. It's a combination that will allow the Paris conference, the Paris Climate Conference, COP21, to make history. And I'll wrap up on this note. It's the combination of cities, companies, and national governments that will make COP21 an absolutely essential landmark. And that's why what is happening today is changing the world, and it's changing the world in the right direction. Thank you.
Listen to the question I have. Listen. do not hear Mrs. Hidalgo. The music is louder.
Nous avons échoué, mais nous allons, j'en suis sûr, en vous voyant, réussir. Merci.
With funding and finance mechanisms, developing cities would achieve massive carbon savings. Fund green infrastructure projects and accelerate their emissions reductions ambitions is one of my priorities since I became chair of C40.
What are you going to do? If we do nothing about climate change, storms will be much worse.
Voilà, alors tout de suite, la première partie de nos débats. Il y aura 3 parties cet après-midi.
The Compact of Mayors formed under Mayor Bloomberg's leadership today encompasses 361 cities, over 337 million people, pledging to take bold action on climate change.
La cuestión del clima no es un tema aparte que se pueda tratar de forma sectorial. Es un problema de modelo, estructural.
When the world comes together to take action to fight climate change, it is only fitting that the name of this city will become synonymous with climate change for generations to come.
Mayors being closer to the people and closer to the ground and less political than maybe governors or congressmen, yeah, they're less political. It's not that they're not political, they're just less political.
Ce qui marche le mieux, c'est ce qui est local. Et c'est souvent les maires de plein de villes qui font des choses extraordinaires et qui bougent le monde, vraiment.
We are moving to a future world that is sustainable and prosperous and just and equitable.
Ce 21e siècle sera solidaire dans les actes ou ne sera pas.
By signing on to the compact, each city commits to 3 major ideas. And these ideas really are unique in government. First, we want to set bold goals, goals that people can understand and measure. Second, adopting common measurements so we can compare one city to another. And third, publicly reporting progress so that citizens can hold governments accountable for results.
Chers amis, je vais vous demander par acclamation d'approuver la déclaration de Paris.
it's me.